and McCann.
Greetings and welcome to Wake the Dead. Today we are very happy to have returning guest, my brother Jim, Dr. Jim Pivarski. Welcome, Jim.
Hi.
My viewers and listeners should remember you from the past episodes that we've had. You are a doctor of particle physics and you've worked at CERN. You were there in the early 2000s, and you took a picture of your face within the colliding chamber. It was great. It was that was a great episode. I love having it there and being able to see it later. It's something I want to remember. And then the other episodes that we've had, we talked about the idea of science thinking and how science collaborates with each other to find the truth, and talked about, in that episode, we talked about how flat earth theory is taking a huge left turn, going way off the reservation, and creating this cult, basically, which I find is a psyop to poison the well of information out there. People that think they're attaining truth, they get to this flat earth thing and they say, oh, I've found it, I've found the truth, and now everything makes sense, and this is why we're nihilistic, because they hide the truth of the dome. We live on this flat plane and the sun just goes in circles around the plane, and don't you notice, look with your own eyes, the sun. So we went, and that was quite an episode.
Yeah, I think it's fun being one of the few people who know something so basic,
Right. Right. And they've kept this secret for so long from us, and now I have the truth. So it kind of creates this us and them divide.
Yeah.
Which I think is the real reason for why, because I've heard people that are into flat earth and they say, oh, I don't ever want to be on a round earthers podcast anymore. I don't even care to talk to round earthers. They silly Santa ballers, and they just demean them, to talk crap about them, and just it's really sad. These are our friends, and just because somebody believes something that you don't believe doesn't mean you should be divided.
Yeah. Well, not to mention, how could it be to be going through life and say, I don't want to have anything to do with people who think the earth is round? And that's like almost everybody.
Right. Yeah. And then they go out and vote for people that think the earth is round, and they go and follow orders from people who think the earth is round. Yeah. They're a bunch of slaves. But anyway, we're all slaves here. So yeah, we did that episode. That was fantastic. Loved that. And we talked more about CERN again in another episode, where we talked about the idea of the Shiva statue and how that was a gift from the government of India. And it's a beautiful idea, and I think it's beautiful and fantastic, and I don't think it has anything negative or scary.
Yeah, in fact,
we already went through.
Since then, whenever I'm out somewhere and I see a thing where they're selling a lot of jewelry or something like that, and I see a little Shiva statue, so that same image, right. I think in the back of my mind, that's that one. Right,
that's the same one, and it's it's symbol been around forever, and now people paint it as the destroyer. It destroys things. That's all it does. And it's a dance of, creation.
It is the end of, it's the end of the world, which is also the beginning of the world.
Right.
So, still, yeah.
So, there's a lot of big ideas, and people that are, that they get a little excited, and they think things, and they go a little overboard with those things. So we tried to rein it in a little bit on that episode, talk about the reality of it, and how India has been working with mathematics, and how that it's integral for the calculations that are done in particle physics.
Mhm.
Um, so that was a great episode. And in that one, we watched a little clip of a video of the CERN sacrifice, which is so, it was silly. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Kids wearing tennis shoes and his robe is too small, you know. So like that, we played a video, and we were gonna play this other one, but we kind of ran out of time.
Yes.
And you were gracious enough to agree to do this next
Sure.
episode.
Yeah.
So here we have, we're going to talk about the theories that people have created. Um, they take the language of God particle, or what were some of the other ones,
There
like
were, yeah, I
the
noticed,
portal black holes, portal, right? There was
yeah, I noticed that within physics, for, I don't know, from the 40s to the 80s, let's say,
mhm, right,
there was quite a bit of God talk. There was like one of the theories about how the quarks work, and actually it's a true theory, was called the Eightfold Way. So
right, right.
pulling words from Buddhism. I'm sure there were others. One that I forgot last time
Just
was,
because there's 8 of them, you
oh, there we
described
go.
that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was
You
great
know,
in the episode.
it's and the physicists knew some Buddhism and thought that it would be fun to use that word.
Right,
Like, and one that I forgot was that the first nuclear bomb test was called Trinity. You know,
right,
you know
right.
they were
Like
they
the Father, Son, the Holy Spirit, right? Like
yeah, yeah, but
right.
and because they were jamming three pieces of uranium into each other very fast.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Trinity.
Right,
Um,
right.
but it's they were, for that era, they were big on how they were sort of feeling the weight of what they were discovering. They
Right.
were realizing, they were getting to the bottom part, the particles that are at the base of all this feels like we're at the
Basic building blocks.
reality. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and then there was this big ego boost with suddenly the government thought that their work was important, and the Manhattan Project led into all these big science projects.
Right.
In fact, I would even count the rocket to the moon as part of this whole trajectory of government big science.
Mm-hmm.
Which, that's the world I grew up in. Like
Right.
as a graduate student, that's like was the background for why, a lot of my field existed, was because of all that history. Now, I wasn't doing any nuclear physics, but you know,
Right.
all of the we had been told everywhere that yes, the thing that you're doing is the most fundamental and most important. And
It helps your ego, I'm sure. Like makes you
yeah, exactly,
feel
exactly.
like a yeah, yeah.
So there was a lot of these, when we discover a new particle, call it the God particle. When you discover a new,
We discovered God, man. Yeah.
and
Okay.
that is uh, that is cringy.
Mm,
Definitely, like, I don't know, 9 physicists out of 10 at least. You pull them out and start talking like that, and they would definitely cringe.
right. But it
Um,
probably helps to get the grants and to get the funding or whatever, because
uh,
it's exciting and like
yes, yes. Boy, if we were to just, if we were to lay that kind of stuff thick in a grant application, I hope that grant would get thrown out.
Well, yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah, you'd think.
Yeah,
But I mean, the excitement in the not just the,
yeah,
but like in the newspapers, and
yeah,
to get the ideas out there so that
yeah,
it
yeah.
creates
In the media for sure.
right, right,
Absolutely.
right.
Yeah.
And so it not only does it create excitement and interest, it also creates confusion and fear amongst people that are ignorant to what is really happening.
Mhm.
So that's kind of where all this starts. Like people have this natural fear of the unknown and the fear of chaos, and they trust in God to keep the particles of matter together. you
Mhm.
know and if we as humans start meddling in God's domain, you know, that it's just immediately satanic to people. They just think, nope,
You know,
can't go there, don't do that, you know.
yeah, you used the right word, meddling,
Mm.
because that was, the ominous moral at the end of every science fiction movie from the 60s.
Yeah, even Jurassic
There's
Park
some
and stuff.
things God never meant man to know.
Right. Yeah.
And because they finally destroyed the giant bug.
Right, right,
Like,
right. Yeah. And but I mean it's always like I mean, and that was a whole thing, like the idea of the Godzilla movies, you
yeah,
know, and the
yeah,
fear of the bomb, and like we dropped it on Japan and like whoa, you know, and the nuclear like you know, the creation of and then the Hulk, you know, and that like gamma
gamma rays.
rays and like the
Yeah,
whole thing, the idea of like the mutation of the human species or in you know of animals to create monsters and how scary that is. And so
yeah,
it's like we grew up with these comics and these ideas, you know.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, because uh, real scientists made sorry, scientists made real something that had been science fiction. So
Right.
in like the 20s and 30s, there was lots of stuff about um, harnessing nuclear energy, and because in the 20s and 30s they knew that there was radiation, harnessing nuclear energy to do things like fly to the moon. It was almost always they created, they found a way to split the atom and they used the atom as rocket fuel to get to the moon. So when in the 40s, um, because of a strange, crossing of accidents, that nuclear fission was discovered just on the eve of World War II,
Huh.
and of the four governments that considered it, um, Germany knew it was possible and kind of lukewarmed some reactors, but didn't really push it. Americans didn't know that, of course. The British realized that they could just send their resources to the United States, where it'd be
Right,
out.
because we're their
US,
lapdogs and we do whatever they tell us.
the U.S. went full on into it, ridiculously so.
Right, and we
Actually,
had all those German scientists after with the Project Paperclip.
yeah, right, right.
Yeah.
The Japanese, they knew that it would be possible to make a nuclear bomb, and they looked at their resources and said, "Nope, it's not going to happen,"
Right.
which was true.
Yeah, well,
Uh,
they're an island. I mean, they don't have any resources, you know.
they and going into no, they didn't
No,
like.
they
It
needed
was so
gas. I mean, they needed oil. You know what I mean? They didn't even have
yeah,
that.
like
So,
it just wasn't. They were like actually just making a nuclear bomb at all was so barely almost possible.
right.
Like
There are some people that think that didn't happen either. You know,
really
like yeah, there are people that think we didn't get to the moon.
well.
I'm kind of in that camp. Like yeah. I mean, maybe we did, but what we were seeing on TV, that no, I don't believe that. But I mean, you know, the idea of like there are people that deny that what you're saying. It's just I
Okay,
don't know. I mean, anyway. Please continue. I'm sorry I interrupted.
sure. Well, actually, where I was going with this is that it seems almost unbelievable, that
Hmm.
something that had been on the pages of science fiction,
Right.
which in reality was enormously difficult. And just because of the weird confluence of when it happened, the US was willing to put $2 billion of that times, like
Right. The equivalent.
from that era.
Right.
Um, uh,
And then they wanted
and
to
made
show
it
off their
happen.
new toy. Like, yeah.
Made it happen.
Right.
I mean, it's almost like I try to run in my head all the different alternate histories, and in almost every one of them, it doesn't turn out like that. In almost every one of them, like fission is discovered too soon, and so it's not really like a war thing because everybody knows about it by the time World War II happens, or
Right.
fission is discovered too late, and then there was nothing that was going to have them put so much time and money into it as a war.
Right. And war is strategically necessary for certain certain changes in our societies, you know, like the rulers of our system use war to rearrange the chessboard to their liking so they could have. So yeah, exactly. And so I mean, if you do look and study about World War II, and then that'll bring in a study of World War One, and how like all wars are banker wars, and like, and oh, and who runs the bankers, and like it's kind of like you know, even there was a there was a dude that works for BlackRock that was filmed in a on a date with some like spy, basically, who worked for Project Veritas, or it's a new thing now. It's a different name, but he explained to his date, and he's like an underling in this BlackRock. BlackRock like funds this, like they own Pfizer and shit. Like they, you know, they own all like stock in all the biggest companies, and like them and Vanguard. And like this dude that works for BlackRock, he's talking about how yeah, you know, we buy politicians, and yeah, we you know, this is common, this is how it's done, and like, you know, this, so like, and he also said that the Ukraine war is good for business. And he explained that, you know, if Russia bombs some like place in Ukraine that makes grain, then the price of bread goes up on the stock market. And if you know before everybody else does, then you can get that money in there and you can like make all that dollars.
Everybody else.
Right, right. So it's like it's like a gambling game for them, you know. And the way, you know, they, I think that they set up World War II on purpose, and then they had this Cold War on purpose. It's a way to like lock down their own population into like you know, to be compliant with the ruler. But that's, you know, that's another show. Like there's, it's basically statism is a mind control device, you know, and war creates like we are bound together, we are us and they are them, and we, you know, it creates a like a solid group, like a cult mentality type thing. But we, I don't want to get lost in that.
Threat often would.
Right, right.
You know.
Just like the new threats that are coming, like, ooh, you know, global warming is going to kill us all. Or like everybody has a body. Ooh, viruses, you know, that whole thing. Like that way, it's everybody is involved in the same fright instead of it being one country against another. That way, they can make it a global situation where they can have this new world order. But so anyway, I do see the new world order plan is happening, and even though the Christians say that's what's planned out in the book that they got, I see it happening in real life. You know, I mean, it's coalescing into a power structure of the whole world. And I mean, but I guess every dominating power force since like Alexander the Great has tried to rule the world, and like it only makes sense that this. So anyway,
yeah.
I mean,
song comes on in the back of my mind.
What's that?
Everybody wants
right. Yeah. Except everybody that wants power. Yeah. That's, you know.
Yeah. It might just be 1% of people, but still.
Right. The psychopaths, right? About 1%.
Yeah. There's enough of them.
Yeah. And they cause a real ruckus in this place, you know. So, okay. So the distrust of governments is a thing that I'm on board with. And the idea of the New World Order thing, I'm on board with that too. I'm not like, I think Christianity is a great, you know, mental, it's a way of finding morality within yourself and like to become the best you. And I think it's a great, like, as long as it's not binding you, you know, as long as it's showing you more of yourself, it's beautiful. And so the religious structure that binds us into subservience to the dominator, and, you know, to this book is truth, and if you don't believe it, then I hate you, like that's going too far. And I think that is the kind of mentality that is so afraid of CERN. Like they jump to conclusions and they're triggered by their ignorance. So I kind of wanted to show
Yeah,
some examples.
yeah.
So here, I'm going to share a screen. We can show this Brave browser. Okay. So this here, this is
Literally summoning the demon.
yeah, dude. Yeah, okay, so you can see it. So this guy, Christopher Green on Twitter, he's just a random dude. I didn't pick him on purpose, but whatever. I picked him because of this tweet. He says, CERN is literally summoning the demon. 666 in the logo, exactly 16.6 miles around. Literally occult symbols everywhere. God be with us when this thing turns on starting July 3. Supposedly, it will use more power than the entire USA does in 1 year.
It's not true. That much, like, I don't know exactly how much power it uses, but it's not.
Couldn't be that, right? Okay.
No,
Well, that's good. I mean, we need you to be speaking up and saying these, because I mean, that's kind of and he says supposedly, you know what I mean? At least he agrees he doesn't know that's true.
yeah.
And then the last sentence of this is, it's underground opening a portal. A portal. So we already talked about the language in the other one, how.
Yeah.
So that language kind of triggers people. And
Yeah, if we can pick this one apart.
Yeah.
So it has, so this every one of these accelerators that I've been involved with. There's one at Fermilab, and then the very small one at Cornell when I was a grad student. They all have some electrical infrastructure. Like even the Cornell one had a substation, although I was told that it was not because of the amount of power that it draws, but for stability, that they needed to be more stable.
Right. Keeps the power at an even level.
Yeah. Right. Fermilab has a pretty extensive electrical grid on it, and CERN does too. But however much power that is, it is in no way comparable to like the amount of power the US uses in a year. It might be comparable to how much power a small village uses.
Right.
Like, right. And power is per time thing. So like it would take a year to use as much as a village for a year, something on that order.
Right.
You know, the circumference is 16.565 miles.
Okay. 16.565. Ooh, is that scary? I don't know. It's funny because like you'd think he's looking at 666, but there's only 2 6s there. I mean,
yeah.
And he says literally occult symbols everywhere. I mean, there is the statue, but that's a picture of a religious icon. I mean,
yeah, like cults. Yeah, the word occult doesn't refer to Shiva, right?
No, it's not hidden at all, right? Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Well, so like a cult is that's like to be a cult, you have to. Well, I guess that literally means one thing in front of another.
Right, like it's hidden information, like to hide from the consciousness of another, right?
Yeah, Shiva is not hidden.
No. No, it's right there in the courtyard. Like, hey, everybody look at it. Yeah. Okay. So that was 144 retweets, 429 likes. That was posted. I don't know how long ago.
Oh, it's a second. Yeah.
So there's more. This is people making comments, right? And this dude talking about already spent $4 billion building and uses 1.3 terawatt hours of electricity annually. That's enough power to fuel 300,000 homes for a year in the United Kingdom. Hey man, but Bitcoin uses too much energy. Don't worry, bro. So okay. And then someone asks, what is it? And this kid, Christopher Green, says, a particle collider attempting to recreate the universe. What?
Yeah, I can think of the mass media thing that's been pulled out of context. Because one of the things you can say is recreate the conditions of the Big Bang.
Right.
That would be that is one of the
But you even
so
explained to me it's
inspired.
not a bang. It's just a expansion.
Yeah.
There's no
Oh,
there's no
so
starting. There's no like nothing comes from nothing. Like it,
yeah,
it was just smaller.
the
Right.
like the energy density of the early universe, it is producing that is a thing that the way that we'll say it to the media is that producing the same kind of energy density that we had in the early universe.
Right.
But in the early universe, the whole universe had that energy density everywhere.
Hmm.
And in a collider, about a femtometer
Right.
has
Right.
that energy density.
Right.
Uh,
And that's speculative what the universe used to have. Like your math says that, but I mean, is
yeah,
that
projecting
really,
backward.
like
Yep.
it's just it's a powerful thing of colliding particles. Like, I mean, who knows if it's like the beginning of the universe? You speculate it might be. I mean, your scientists think with your math, like,
Mhm.
but whatever.
Yeah, it's kind of
So,
like triangulation.
right. Like, I mean, you're getting rid of the not possibles to find out what's left to that might be possible of
Yeah, yeah.
to understand the reality of what might have actually happened in truth. And that's the way to do it. Like, I mean, anyway, with an open mind. And so these people, they already know. They think they already know what it is
Yeah.
and what it's recreating the universe. Oh, so where's the second universe gonna be? It's just gonna anyway. So what could go wrong? I always thought about how and when the Lord would cause the end of the age to happen, but looks like all along it's man that's gonna do it. Uh, so people are afraid
And
that
then notice
humans.
that
Go ahead.
16.6 kilometers, we switched from miles to kilometers.
Yeah, they don't. This is on Twitter. People are on their phone with their thumbs. They don't know what they're doing. Okay, so
Two high-powered lasers at each other.
high-powered lasers, right? Not particles.
Yeah.
Uh,
There
the
are some
lasers
experiments that
that
use,
collide particles.
there's some experiments that use lasers. This is
Right.
not one of them.
Okay. Right. So this here is a GIF of Stranger Things of
Yeah, yeah.
the upside down. I don't know if you've seen that show, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's great.
And there's people like and then out of the ashes arise the phoenix, and there's the meme of Michael Jackson eating popcorn as like
Thriller.
as the replies are going like
Thriller. Yeah.
yeah, Thriller, right? And leave it to the conspirators to reign in fear, right? And you think they invite demons through a portal into our dimension? You think they're able to merge demons with AI so the demons can control us through AI? Man, we are living in scary times. This reminds me of Gog and Magog from the Bible. Like,
Yeah.
okay,
So
right.
then, what about that guy going,
Right, I know, I got it. So there's a few people. Yeah. Well, this one says, great. So the gates of hell will be open before moon, like noon or what? I don't know.
oh,
Oh,
so
great. The gates of hell are going to be open. Oh, like, that's this. I mean,
yeah, this is just
you would think that the guy rolling his eyes and throwing his head back is replying to the comment above, but no,
yeah,
he's replying to the original post of, oh, great, they're going to open the gates of
yeah.
hell, right?
This kind of makes me think of like kids talking in the mall.
Oh yeah, yeah, mall rats, yeah.
Except that
So,
they're all this
the
this is this is clearly a Christian group.
well, I mean, this is Twitter. Twitter's everybody.
Yeah, well, I
It's
mean this in this particular thread here.
you never know. I mean, this I don't like. It's people's friends of people that are Christians.
Yeah,
Others.
I've seen
I'm
this
sure
thread
the
a
ones that are
lot.
sharing it most are the Christians.
Yeah, in
Um,
this thread anyway, because I see like down a little bit. I saw God mentioned again, and
right. There's a lot. Yeah, it will fail. God wins.
okay,
That's positive. All right. Let's hope God wins. Portal
like
to the
down.
upside down. Also, Europe is over here having a energy crisis.
Oh,
Meanwhile, CERN is out here using electricity like Credit Suisse launderers cocaine money.
actually, that's true. Those things did come into conflict because of the energy crisis.
Mhm.
They turned off for a few months in the winter around uh, so when the heating is most needed.
Right.
Um,
Because you want to save lives. I mean, that's
that's
more
right.
important than finding a
It
God
was
particle.
it was so there was actually this top-down plan about how often CERN could run.
Right.
Uh, based on the time of year when energy is needed most.
Right.
In-
Because all the governments that work together to run this thing, they all have to give their power to it, right? I mean, don't they feed in funds at least, or
yeah,
like
fun.
they all work together to pay for the power?
It's true. Yeah. So CERN is all of the member states are obliged to fund it at a certain level.
Right, you must.
So therefore, the U.S. is not a member state.
That
This
makes
is a
sense.
thing. Yeah. Yeah. Like we're an associate.
Right.
The U.S. is
Right.
an associate to CERN. Or
We get
affiliate.
we get all the benefits, but we don't give any of the hardships, right? Or
Well,
we'll take all that
it's
information, but we don't want to
oh, the
help.
information. Well, the
Right.
information is for everybody.
Right. Right.
Um,
Isn't that
yeah.
grand? It's grand.
Yeah. Uh,
So, yeah, I mean, so like they all work together to pay,
yeah.
and so they all have to agree to like pay the bills together. So I'm sure that they had to have some people sit down and be like, look, we can't give all this power over the winter. Like it makes sense.
That's
And
right.
these people are assuming that they don't shut it down to let people heat their homes. And I'm glad that you said that they do. You know, that shows that they have care for them.
Yeah, that happens. Yeah.
Good.
Um,
So here we go. Stranger Things gave us a preview, and you know, a clip
all
from
these
horror movie
movie
GIF, right? That's how
and
people think. Their minds are molded by the films from the Hollywood.
yeah,
I
I'm
mean, really, like you know, like what Disney says, like, uh, uh, what does they say about your imagination? Like capturing your imagination. I forget what it was like, but they basically Disney's like, we are giving you what to imagine. I forget the phrase. It
okay.
slips my mind, but they like that's Disney's like logo, like capturing your imagination. Like so you don't think of like look at Halloween and the way people dress on Halloween. Everybody is a movie character.
Yeah,
Everybody's like
yeah,
the Hulk
yeah,
or
yeah,
Spider-Man, you know.
yeah.
And like in the old days, it was like, you know, you'd see, oh, I'm a tree, or like, you know, I'm a goblin that has 5 heads, like, you know, out of their imagination. But
Right.
now it's just everybody's funneled into this, like, no
Yeah,
imagination, just
right.
everybody's an NPC, just like, I'm another Spider-Man, you know.
Sure.
Anyway, yeah, so like
Yeah, it did
the
funnel down.
Hollywood is like it's the boundaries of people's brains. It's like they it's like people can't imagine past the movies, and that's why they give us all the things in the movies to speculate, you know. Like one of these tweets or one of the replies on the tweet here said stop watching Stargate. And Stargate, if you remember from the 90s, I think it was 94, is like a big part of the theory regarding CERN, and we're going to get into that later with the guy that the 15-minute video.
Oh,
Um,
with CERN in Stargate? I saw
no,
the
no, no, no,
TV
no,
series.
no,
Oh,
but we'll get into it later. It's fun. We'll get to that in a minute.
because when CERN was in the Dan Brown books, it just became a circus.
Right, right. Well, Dan Brown, that's some more mind control, right? You know that.
Okay. I read
Yeah,
a little bit of that.
that's
I
pretty
tried to
much a
start it,
psyop.
and
Yeah.
it's yeah, it
If you
was
watch the later one, like have you there's the latest one was about overpopulation, and it had Tom Hanks, and he was talking about how it's a fact we're going to overpopulate the earth and there's going to be riots and hellfires because there's not going to be enough for everybody. We're going to have to kill and rob. Like that whole thing,
Malthusian. Yeah, that's right.
Malthusian, and like they
Oh, that
Tom.
didn't happen.
No, of course, of
There
course.
was a actually,
It
it's funny.
can't happen. The more people there are, the
But
more stuff will be created. We create stuff. Like so
yeah, we also use resources, but
sure,
you
but I
know,
mean, come on. There's like
so, no, it's quite. This feels like one of the things that's like unrecognized.
hmm,
That don't look at the so the population of the world is something that's just been screaming up, but look at the change in population. There was a peak in the change in population around 1960. So like the change in population is really, really going down. It's
Right.
like, um,
Japan is going to die off. There,
yeah,
we have
you
a
have the opposite
replacement
problem.
crisis. Right.
Right,
Right.
right. And it
And
hits.
that's because the eugenicists and the Malthusians have been working so hard to convince us that, oh, I can't eat meat to save the planet. I can't, like, I mean, I don't agree with killing animals anyway, but I'm just saying, like, the way that we have to sacrifice our bodies and ourselves, and we can't have more kids. More kids means killing the planet. And, oh, I'm not going to have kids because I want to save the planet.
Well, if they
Like,
drive cars and use a lot of fossil fuels, maybe.
right, but fossil fuels was created by Rockefeller. The term fossil fuels is a misnomer. It's actually rock oil. It comes from the earth. It replenishes itself. The whole idea that oil is going to run out is false. They only created that idea to drive up the price of oil. That whole idea is false. Just like the idea of global warming happens because of, people burning fossil, that whole thing is false.
Yeah,
And if you look at the truth of like what the real temperatures are and the sea level temperatures and the sea level rising like that, if the people that actually promote the idea of climate change, they would not be buying houses at Martha's Vineyard. They would not be having like the
yeah. So we're at a junction point where we could continue with like the original plan and see this video and talk about the things.
right, right. Or we could go into Malthusianism.
Well, yeah, no,
Malthusian.
actually, at this point about the uh, the limited amount of fuels from ancient biology.
But it's not biotic. It's not from animals. That's proven to be true.
So
It does not come from dinosaurs.
well, not dinosaurs, but
Well, it doesn't come from animals. It comes from the earth. It's abiotic, not biologic.
Here's where we're at a junction point because so this and the rising temperatures.
Well,
I do have some.
There was a volcano under the ocean, and there's
and I'm gonna have to disagree with you.
well, there was a volcano under the ocean, and there's the tenth of the amount of water vapor that was in the air before the eruption was released into the air from the sea because of the underwater volcano. This happened like maybe a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And NASA agrees it's true. Like there's more water vapor in the air, and water vapor is what causes the greenhouse effect.
That is correct.
So like carbon dioxide does not do it. So if there is a little bit of rising temperature now within the last couple of weeks, it's because of this volcano.
Well, so if I'm gonna have to go down this road because
that's fine. That's fine. Go ahead.
You are right that that the water vapor has the most effect on the temperature, the most immediate effect on the temperature. And the thing is that water vapor has a sort of cycle that if it gets warmer, then it what is it? It's a negative feedback loop. If it gets too cold, then
it condenses and turns into rain.
Stabilizes. Right? The thing is, and carbon dioxide, and to a greater extent methane, they are also greenhouse gases. They also absorb radiation and keep it from reflecting back into space. So they warm things up. But the thing is that they don't undergo this cycle. So even though the water vapor is the majority of what is keeping heat from getting back out into space, the carbon dioxide and the methane are the controlling bit. They're the part that does not have this virtuous cycle. So as that increases, that does increase the greenhouse effect. It does keep from getting back out into space.
Well, if that's true, I don't think that it's going to cause the Earth to boil, like they say.
It will not boil.
They said
The
boil.
Earth will not boil.
They
Yes.
they said that the other day. There was like, oh, we're past the time of global warming. Now we're global boiling. That's what they said.
That's
It's
funny
silly,
words,
dude.
right?
It's
So
silly. So
the
like
temperature could increase by 2 or 3 degrees centigrade on
and
average,
if
which
that
is
happens,
huge.
if if that happens, then there will be more life and more vegetation, and uh, it will benefit all life on the planet with more heat. Uh,
It will
and
benefit the majority of life. It will not benefit humans.
well, all right, but okay, that might be what you think, but it has benefited humans. If you look at I mean, the time of the Renaissance was like a warming period, and then the time of like the modern minimum was cooling. Like, we go through cycles, and I don't believe that burning oil and releasing carbon dioxide into the air, which happens all the time from regular Earth processes. I don't think that's going to change anything worth noting. I don't think it's going to. I think all they're trying to do is create a fear. So, like, I mean, what you said about the methane, that might be true, but that that process might be happening, but it's not going to affect anything. You might even be able to prove it's true, so that you can put taxes on, so that governments can put taxes on the burning of fuels. But really, all this is doing, it's a way uh, of binding us in our abilities, the way that money has done in the past. This way, they can put a limit on how much energy we can consume individually, and they can monetize how much energy we use. And with their technocratic system, they can regulate who gets what, how it's like perfect communism. We get ration of this much chocolate, like whatever, 1984. But basically, it's a way of tacking a dollar value onto this idea so that they can control the populations of the earth. It doesn't, it's not going to make the world boil. It's not going to kill people. It's not going to make any sea level rise. I mean, Bill Nye, the science guy, was talking about sea level rise, and he goes to Venice and he's talking about, oh, look, their books got wet at but that's because they had a surge. The ocean surged
Yeah.
in from a storm. And then if you go and you look, all their streets are canals, right?
Yeah.
And these streets, the curb at the edge of the canal was built in like the 1600s, and the water is still right there at the level of the curb. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't fool me. It's so
Yeah.
silly. They're showing us on camera that it's the same level it has been for the last 600 years,
It'll be different. Yeah, so it'll be different in different places. What matters is the overall average. But
Right.
actually, I should tack a bit in that the the social aspect of it isn't a move from I'm going to keep calling them fossil fuels. What am I going to call them?
That's fine. Go ahead.
Yeah. Isn't a move from fossil fuels to wind and solar energy kind of an anarchist utopia?
No.
Isn't
It's more slavery, because
you can make your own wind turbines? I mean, like,
no, you can't. No, good luck making your own wind turbine. And those things, they're only good for like 15 years. They're good for 15 years, and then they're like broken, and it's
no,
just like a graveyard. These
no,
big
I don't
ones,
mean like I don't mean like the big, we're going to just cover the desert with solar panels, or the big,
yeah.
have tons, these.
Okay, I thought that's what you meant. Like,
I mean, like the ones that individuals put on their house.
oh yeah, like a windmill, right?
Yeah,
Whatever.
and,
People
like,
have been doing that forever.
and
That's a
water
great
wheels
idea.
and
Yeah,
all these things.
That's
These
great.
are great sources of energy,
Right.
and those will never run out.
Yeah, right. But they also won't power the things that we do. It's a great, like, it's a great fantasy because like people aren't going to do it themselves and get their own windmill. And if people do get a solar panel, that only works for how long? And how many dangerous earth chemicals, minerals had to be mined by children in Africa to make that solar panel? I mean, it takes human slavery to create a fucking solar panel. And people think, oh, I'm independent, I'm doing it myself. But really, no, you're just part of the system. The Rockefeller that told you that fossil fuel is valuable, they've divested out of oil long ago. And they're into wind turbines, they're into these batteries that, that start on fire and you can't put them out. They're made out of like
if they're made of lithium, you don't want to pour water in them.
Of course not. No, it makes it worse. And this lithium and the cobalt and that has to get mined out of Africa too. These little kids with their hands digging out of the ground all day, and there's some guy with a gun like pointing at it. And so that's not a solution, obviously. And plus, like the wind turbines, the big ones that make those farms and shit, they only work for like 15, 20 years at the max. And then they're broken. And you got to get a new one. It's still planned obsolescence. Okay. It's still like a form of it's like a problem reaction solution, right? The problem is, ooh, you're bad to the environment, even though like the way that we burn gasoline is very antiquated. I mean, we could get, if we had the proper technology, we could get like 150 miles to the gallon, if we did it right. But the car companies and the oil companies have suppressed all that technology. So the idea of getting off of gas because gas is bad, gas is actually, it frees us because we can have a store of gas. Even before, actually, gas kind of enslaved us, because before there was gas, there was hemp. People would make hemp ethanol from their own plants, and they would run their own tractors on that stuff. And then Rockefeller came in and said, all alcohol is illegal. That's why alcohol was illegal. Not because of people drinking, but because Rockefeller wanted to control the fuel that went into engines. And ethanol is alcohol, and it's like, and they basically banned that shit. And that way everybody has to have gas. So at least now, okay, yes, we all have gas, but at least we can go to a station right down the street and get some, bring it home and run our whatever we want. We turn it on and off when we want. We have control over it. With the other ideas, like if you like, it's great, have a windmill and have like make your own power, but you're not going to have enough. Like you might be able to run a fridge or something.
You're not going to have as much as we've gotten used to.
Exactly. And like we feel like we need this power, and then all of a sudden, oh, we're going to take it away from you, so you better do this thing, pay us more money. It's a slavery system of capturing us. We might not
have a good solution. Maybe windmills are not enough for the amount of power that we have gotten used to, but it is the case that if you want to look at some company that looks like it's trying to control us, my God, the oil companies.
Yes. But really, the oil companies that are left, like what's left of the oil is like OPEC, and they were created by our government and our oil companies. We were like, okay, like the petrodollar, like they tied the US dollar to the oil, and then they said, you guys can have oil, but you have to sell it in dollars. So that propped up our economy, and they and it gives them all this huge wealth, like they're driving diamond plated cars and shit.
And I've seen very credible, right before Gulf War I, Saddam Hussein wanted to move from the dollar to the euro.
Right.
Right.
Yes. And now with all of this, like with the dollar being destroyed and all these wars in Ukraine and all the inflation and Like they're imploding the dollar on purpose, and we can see that happening. And then we look over there to the east, and they're trading oil in different than dollars. Like the Saudi Arabia is like, oh yeah, we're gonna work with, I don't know if it was Russia or
Euros.
China, but whatever. Like they're moving away from the dollar now. Like even that, they're divesting from the dollar. So they've divested from oil completely, and now they're divesting from the dollar. So the people that were in charge of the oil, they were just holding the, they were just placeholders. The people that really started it and got it going, they jumped ship a long time ago. They're running like the, you know, Chase Manhattan Bank is the remnants of Standard Oil and
Oh,
Rockefeller. You
yeah.
know,
Okay.
so like that's where it is. That's where where it's evolved into, and so now like the banks are running like high. The banks are higher than the oil companies by far. If you look at the structure
I
of,
could see that. Yeah.
yeah,
Right. Right.
and like Vanguard runs the banks, and BlackRock, you know, they run the banks, and those people that own that stock are like the families that used to be popes, like Orsini and like these. So like the same structure of sits like the Roman Catholic Church, like of like basically the same structure of obedience is still there. It just has a different mask. Now it's like the priests are the bankers and the priests are the doctors, and like
Yeah.
they got this like order, but it's still the same. You can recognize it,
Yeah.
you know.
So you're saying sort of the mixing, the uh low class, upper class, the power elites are not um uh there's not a lot of upward and downward motion.
No, same
Um
families are where they're same station. It's just they got a different name and a different like costume, you know.
yeah. It could be. I can see how it would be difficult for that to change because like what your parents and your grandparents had is going to give you,
Of course.
advantages, right.
Right.
But actually where I had to stop was on the science of the
Right, right.
of
Yeah, well, that's fine.
oil
I'm no, I
and
appreciate this. This was fun
global
little
warming.
because that gave me a chance to like explain to you. I mean, we don't, you know, we don't talk all the time about this stuff, and you don't like really, I mean, like I view history and the world through the lens of understanding human slavery and mind control. And like when I see the things like global warming or the moon landing or all these things, I see it for what they're using it on the people's heads and how they're wielding that information. Instead of looking at the information as that's true or false, I put the true or false on the shelf and I look at how it's being used and who benefits from that. And so that's why I'm not gonna, that's why I don't automatically think like, oh yeah, what the government showed us, that was real moon footage, you know, and whatever. And then like Buzz Aldrin tells some little 7-year-old girl in an interview, we really didn't go to the moon. We didn't go. That's, you know, he
Was
tells it
that
straight up. Like he said that many times. Buzz Aldrin said we didn't go to the moon
there
many
was a
times.
there was a guy who is coming after him, was it Buzz Aldrin or was it a different guy? It's probably Buzz
I
Aldrin.
don't know. Buzz was the weird guy. He did like the Dancing with the Stars, and he's an old man now, but he's still
Yeah.
like kind of in the.
Uh, there was
He's quirky. He's funny, dude. He would talk about the monolith on Phobos. Now, ooh, did God put it there? Did aliens put it there? He's a fun guy to. It's,
so it's probably him that I'm thinking of. That someone was coming to one of the astronauts.
hmm
I think it was Buzz Aldrin, and saying, how come you're lying? You didn't actually go to the moon and such. And the astronaut turned around and punched him in the face.
Wow.
Probably they get that a lot.
He's probably sick of it. Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. But I mean, it like he said it to this little girl who was like, she had like a camera and a microphone. She was like doing it for her school or something. And she's like trying to interview him, like, what was it like to go to the moon? He's like, well, we really didn't go there. So I got the clip on my computer. I'll show you some other time.
Okay.
But anyway, so this is fun. I like to you know have friendly exploration of these topics with you, because you come in from a different perspective, and like I look at things from my end, and like it makes sense to me and yours makes sense to you, and we can share, and it's good. I like that. So
yeah, so I think there was a social function to like the moon,
right,
to showing that we can go to the moon and up. But there was I think that the important thing of that was to demonstrate that we had rocket technology, because what do you put on rockets?
right, bombs,
Right.
right, exactly.
It's like, so,
right, we bombed Japan, now look, we got these things that can shoot a rocket all the way to the other side of the planet.
If we can get to the moon, we can get anywhere on the world.
Right, exactly. And then the Reagan with his Star Wars, like the whole thing, putting nukes in space on satellites, like what a terrible idea.
It was going to be lasers.
Oh, okay, good. I thought it was nukes. Okay.
But that was one where that absolutely would not have worked. And the scientists on that said, look, this is not going to work. You shoot the laser through the atmosphere and it's going to dissipate before it.
Right. Because of the water vapor, right?
Because of the air.
Right, right. The molecules, right.
There's a lot of air.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. So, all right. We went on a nice little bird walk there. Let's, so back to this other thing, unless you have anything else you want to say on that.
Yeah. I guess just for the record that, if we're ever talking about this again, no, I suppose I would leave a little bit of uncertainty that it would be possible to find some other store of that the oil won't run out if suddenly we discovered something else.
Well,
I think I'm going to be hardline on it comes from bio.
Well, look into that, please, for me. Like I'm just see if you can find any information, if you can find any proof that it's biotic, because I don't think it's there, but we can leave that there and move on. But anyway, the idea that they're going to use that meme, I guess, that thought form to corral us into a new form of energy slavery, basically. I believe that to be true. Whether and the wells, the oil wells in Texas that were dried up are full again. So it doesn't just disappear, like it refills, like the earth creates this stuff.
There was a change in technology. This was in physics today. What peak oil means has changed. So there actually was this, in the US. So in the US, the amount of oil produced did reach a peak and went down. And then the technology was developed to be able to extract oil from shale. And that wasn't possible before. Before it could only get in liquid form.
With the fracking, you mean?
That's another thing. Going deeper. But it was mostly
that's such a poisonous thing.
Right back up to as high as it had ever been. But that's because of a new way to extract it from something we couldn't extract it from before.
Well, it became a larger economy, I guess. And so but in any case, like just look into it, see if oil is replenished by the earth, because the idea of fossil fuels, the term itself was created by Rockefeller. He was speaking to a Senate hearing and he coined the term.
Okay.
And if you think about why he did so, and you think about and you understand, like he owns like oil, like a Standard Oil company, and he wanted to increase the value of this oil by creating an artificial scarcity. You can charge more money. So that scarcity is how they run things. That's how fear and scarcity keeps us in line.
That would be true. That would be true if that scarcity does make things more valuable.
Right.
I think it actually is scary.
So that, I mean, that So look more into it. It's
Sure.
a fun. It'll be a nice explorative topic. And send me some text or give me a call and we'll talk about it. It'll be fun.
Okay.
All right. So getting back to CERN, we these people. I guess we kind of looked. How do you open the pit? From whence comes the Antichrist? And these people are very scared.
Yeah.
And it like this here, when CERN switched on, here's the devil coming out of the whatever, the Aladdin's lamp. Yeah. So and then there, remember Lot's wife going to bring God, and then this is the electric meter buzzing, whirring. And okay, so they're like, why are they doing round 3? Impact on the environment, blah. Okay. All right, so these people are scared. So that, I guess we got a pretty good idea of this tweet. And I guess unless you have anything else you want to say about that, we can move into the next portion with the video.
No, yeah, let's do that. Okay. I'm gonna turn on my light because it's getting dark here.
Okay, do so. I'll get the video playing. So here we go. Okay. Okay. So here we have, this is from HATS, hats, I don't know, it's some internet thing, but Large Hadron Collider, CERN Laboratories, Geneva, Switzerland. Can you hear that?
I can hear it.
Okay.
On the drawing board at CERN.
This is from the movie.
What is being?
You want to pause?
It's not a movie. What's that? Go ahead.
It's from the what do you call it? Angels and Demons movie, or the other one?
Oh,
yeah,
right.
Demons.
Yeah.
And I know that because some of the pictures there. You see the globe. And then there you see CMS. So first it was the globe, which is on one side of the ring, and they look down in the hole.
Oh, okay.
CMS on the other end of the ring. And in the movie, in the Angels and Demons movie, the Ron Howard movie, they, cut up geometry and made it all, and everybody, all of us in the audience were like seeing these familiar things all in the wrong places.
Right.
Because, it's a movie, they put everything closer together so you could think a nice.
Right, so you could fit it in the frame
like
and right, make it look nice in the frame. Right.
And so that's where this is coming from at the beginning here. So we're already in movies.
Yes, dude, the first sentence, like, let's play it, okay.
Than what is being admitted. Even Adam Barker of Tech Bubble wrote of CERN a while back that with the LHC, CERN are expecting to find other dimensions and open portals to these dimensions. If you have the image of Stargate in your head right now, you're spot on.
If you have the image of Stargate in your head right now, you're spot on.
Yeah. Quite wrong.
Yeah, right. So there we have a flash of Stargate, the movie. Oh, scary. And the dude drops a pencil.
And then he went on.
So, like, that's how they start. Okay, remember the movies? This guy says that they're going to open portals. And we talked about that. The opening portals, that's just some fanciful language, right? That's some bullshit. Crap, right?
I think that where we started with this was at the beginning of the LHC, among the theories of things that we could find would be evidence of more than 3 dimensions.
Okay.
That one of the theories is that we have more than 3. String theory predicts 11 dimensions. String
theory is pretty out there.
Yeah, string theory is totally out there. But suppose that there are more than 3 dimensions, and then our world is just sort of stuck to a 3-dimensional membrane inside this 3-dimensional space. That was a theory,
right?
And it was roundly disproven by the early LHC physics, but that's why we did it, in order to find out for sure. So we could talk about extra dimensions. But
it's like dimension, height, width, depth, that kind of dimension, not like another realm beyond.
Right. Right. That's right. It was supposed to be like height, width, depth, something else, something else, something else.
Right.
there's never anything about portals. And if you have Stargate in your head, you're definitely not the right image.
Right. But Stargate brings in these other ideas.
Yeah.
Ancient aliens,
Yeah.
Egyptian pyramids, like magic from space, like these huge, and like 94 or whatever, right after that, Ancient Aliens went into full gear. History Channel all of a sudden turned into like this imaginary weird like
Right.
fancy full TV, and like so it kind of was like the spark of that whole Ancient Aliens thing. And again, Hollywood cracks the seal and breaks open our heads and makes us think, that's the perimeter of our imagination, and we can go this far. Okay, aliens created the pyramids, right?
Yeah. And why this gets as much, as much run as it does is like I was saying, in the 20s and 30s, science fiction writers were talking about splitting the atom. In science fiction,
right?
And
H.G. Wells and stuff, like
H.G. Wells had the there was a story. I don't remember the name of it, but it was kind of a shock that if the right combination of things come together and you put a huge amount of money into it, sometimes some of those science fiction things can actually happen.
Right.
Which does not imply that any science fiction things can actually happen.
Right.
But some of it did. And so like there's this, I can see how there's this open wiggle room.
Right.
For okay, well, we saw Stargate. We watched, I've seen on the History Channel about the Ancient Aliens. It's happened before that something science fiction has become science fact.
Right.
Therefore,
could it be that aliens are actually the ones that make? Yeah. Ancient Aliens, every like 5 seconds is, could it be? Then they posit some like crazy idea, which makes no sense. Okay, so he's thinking, all right, so he's already tying in these ideas. So like he's telling us, okay, think of Stargate. Okay, here we go. And then he's explaining what CERN, the name of this video is What the CERN Collider's True Purpose Is. So he's going to tell us the truth, in quotes. All right, so he's starting off with the movies. Let's see.
To draw parallels to the biblical story of Jacob's ladder. Perhaps you remember the dream that says, behold, there was a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven. And behold, the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. Then Jacob wakes up from his sleep and he says, surely the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it. And he was afraid. And he says, how awesome is this place? This is none other than the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven. Genesis 28. Now this ladder.
So it's a gate. So he said gate. That's just like the Hollywood movie Stargate, right? So therefore, CERN has nothing to do with CERN. Okay.
Yeah.
Moving on.
This is a Genesis story, and actually, so there's an electrical device called Jacob's ladder.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, if you've ever seen like
right, the two antennas with the
antennas and
right.
the lightning goes up it.
Yes.
They use that in Frankenstein movie.
Yeah.
That is a Jacob's ladder.
Right.
It looks cool.
Yeah. It's you probably So this guy, if he had known, maybe he watched the Frankenstein movies. Okay.
Described in the first book of the Bible, describes something like a portal from heaven to earth through which God's angels, interdimensional and spiritual beings from another reality, were traveling. When Jacob wakes up, he refers to the location as a gate, much like today's trendy terms gateway or Stargate.
Oh, so therefore it's just like the Hollywood movie, and it has still nothing to do with CERN.
Yeah, we just left we
off the rails entirely.
I think the last time we had any contact with anything was with the word dimensions.
Right, but he uses it in a different connotation, like, you know what I mean? So anyway, okay. So the idea that he's giving us is that God has created a ladder from heaven to earth, and angels can travel up and down. That's the idea. And he called it a gate, just like the movie Stargate.
Mhm.
So, okay, let's see where he's going to go with this.
You could have called it a ladder.
One of CERN.
What's that?
You could have called it a ladder this whole way.
Yeah. I
Stick
mean,
to that.
he said ladder, like he said Jacob's,
Yeah, and all
not
the
Jacob's
previous-
gate. Right, go
Yeah,
ahead.
and I was recognizing now the previous scenes where we saw the particles and such going through Siemens. That wasn't even like that wasn't even a CERN publication or anything like that. That was the Ron Howard movie, because
Oh.
because they ended that with like a tube and like a little star thing in it.
Yeah, the thing in the,
That
yeah,
was that little bit of antimatter from the movie,
right,
which is not a thing that
right. They can just have it in a jar.
can't. Yeah, that's not a thing.
Right, right. Yeah, we talked about dark matter too on another episode. People should listen to that. So, okay, here we go.
CERN's goals is to recreate
There you
Jacob's
go.
ladder, according to Barker.
So, one of CERN's goals is to recreate Jacob's ladder. Here, let's hear that again. What?
Yeah, we just
Or Stargate. One of CERN's goals is to recreate Jacob's ladder, according to Barker.
According to Marker? Like, okay, what? That is quite a straw man he just gave us. Like, CERN is creating a portal to other dimensions. He just, out of nowhere, right? Can you like maybe comment a little bit? What do you think of that?
well, that's just the thing. It's out of nowhere. I mean, I don't
Who he's quoting? What?
I don't know who he's quoting. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
According
Well,
to
okay.
Parker or something.
Marker. Yeah, in the beginning he said a quote about here, let me see. About in this magazine about okay.
So whatever that is,
What's that?
whatever
this-
that is, that's off the boat, because
Right, off the reservation.
yeah.
Yeah, so I can't really read with the reception of this video.
Oh, you know what we could do? We could search this exact text in Google.
Oh, okay, good.
I'll put it inside quotation marks.
Okay, good.
CERN plan to use is agrammatical, so this would be great. Use the Large Hadron Collider. I mean, as a search string.
Right. It's unique
Dimensions.
and possibly already have.
Yeah,
So we could find out who said this thing because this is silly to me.
right. So that exact quote, we get a lot.
Oh, I bet.
Techbubble.info, caw.ws, Reddit,
I'm sure there's a lot on Reddit.
Jacob's Ladder, Politics Nigeria.
Hmm.
Actually, there's not a lot. There's only one.
Okay. Well, Google is only going to give you a few.
Yeah,
Google only wants you to look at these 8.
Do DuckDuckGo or something.
Oh, either way, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But does it give the name of the person who said it?
I share it. I don't know.
If you'd like to share, I can stop my share and go back to it later.
I could just take over.
Mhm.
And then I'm trying to do the same thing over here. I don't think it's going to get more. The short. Oh, no.
Oh,
Yeah,
no,
the short list.
that sucks. Well, I mean, that's actually probably good because then we
Alright.
can get an actual quote. World's most powerful accelerator.
These don't have dates under them.
Yeah.
A lot of them are this caw.ws.
What's the top one there? Tech bubble. Oh, cause. Okay.
Yeah, tech bubble. I think is
That looks like an article.
yeah. That
Uh,
oh, this is the title.
okay. That's probably where he got it from. So does it say who they're interviewing?
Yeah, it looks like 2015 are the earliest. 2015, 15, 19, no date.
So it's not actually a quote, it's the title of an article. Man, because they would have wrapped it in quotes if it was from somebody saying it, you know.
Yeah.
Very interesting theories, and I will warn you the following. They may offend you. I'm simply sharing this information with you for you to make up your own mind.
Here's Jacob's
Connection
ladder.
between CERN and Saturn.
This is where this guy's getting this from.
Right.
This is Jacob's ladder.
Right. So, okay, techbubble.info/blog/quantum-physics/entry/how CERN plan to use Large Hadron, blah, blah, blah. And all of you can see for yourself, this guy's just lifting his theory from TechBubble in 2015.
Yeah. What else did this guy write?
Oh, it's a Facebook.
Yeah.
Oh, that just explains quantum physics. So, okay. So he found this in the zeitgeist, this set of words, which is scary, and he attributes them to this person who says, here, I'll go back to the share.
Yeah.
And so that's a pretty scary statement. All right, we already watched that part. Okay, there's Jacob's ladder. Okay, here we go.
Interdimensional spiritual beings from another reality were traveling.
Where is this other reality? Come on. Like, okay.
Anyway. The Indiana Jones movie.
Right. That's the aliens one. That's connected to the Stargate movie.
When Jacob wakes up, he refers to the location as a gate, much like today's trendy terms, gateway or Stargate.
When I use the term gateway, I'm being trendy. It's just a word, man. Anyway.
One of CERN's goals is to recreate Jacob's ladder, according to Mark.
They're circular.
So scary. Yeah, right. It's a circle.
To reopen the portal. Sergio Bertolucci, the official director for research and scientific computing at CERN, he was asked a while back about this extra-dimensional doorway by The Register, which is a London and New York operated science and technology journal. And he didn't hesitate with an enlightening response. He said, yes, out of this door might come something, or we might send something through it.
Ooh.
Okay.
Now, prophecy
I'd like to find
numerous parts of the Bible.
Go ahead and Go ahead.
Notice that the the newspaper article started with a top boffin at blah blah blah. I love how British tabloids use the word boffin.
Explain boffin to the listener, because I don't even think I know what that means.
Oh, it's like a British version of egghead.
Oh, right, smart sciencey guy, right? Okay, right.
But it's already if it's using this kind of language, we're already in the kind of tabloid section.
Right.
But who's this? You said director of computing.
Yeah, Angelo Bertolucci here. Wait, Sergio Bertolucci, Bertolucci.
Here's this guy. He's at CERN. He's the director of research in computing. And he said, okay, so now forward to the thing where he misspoke. So the quote that the Register picked up on him.
Oh, okay, right.
For research and scientific computing.
Okay, we'll play this again.
He was asked a while back about this extra-dimensional doorway by The Register, which is a London and New York operated science and technology journal. And he didn't hesitate with an...
Yeah, there you go. Top boffin, a Large Hadron Collider. Says, go ahead.
May come through dimensional doors. Switching that in quotes.
So you think this guy is saying these words to get like some attention? You think he's just... What do you speculate he's trying to do there?
Out of this door might come something, or I might send something through it.
I mean, that really does paint a picture of a portal and a doorway, and
It does.
you know, so I can understand why these people would get scared hearing this kind of language.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're kind of like, what do you say to that?
Yeah, I don't know if he meant like energy or. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
Imagine it was misspoke. I'm gonna search out of this door might come something, or it might send something through it.
okay.
Search string.
Yeah, so to me it sounds like
Document server. Oh, wait a minute. I really found
the actual quote.
Yeah, I did.
Good. Can you you want to share that? Here, I'll stop.
I'm switching over.
Okay.
So the thing is, CERN document server, this is where everything gets saved. Sportspedia, Twitter, fact check.
Here we go. Leadstories.com.
Random. Okay, so Facebook. Okay, so here.
So that's a transcript of the.
This is a transcript, yeah. But I know that with the URLs, you can just chop off the bit and see the record in the CERN document server. There's no discussion.
No, zero discussion. Weird.
Well, most of these things.
It's not like people don't make their comments on these things.
Yeah, they set it up and they hardly ever.
I would think that people, scientists like yourself, would be like, wait a minute, a door? You know?
Well, since nobody reads these comment boards, nobody posts them.
Nobody reads it except for this guy that we're watching the video documentary.
Well, no, this is in the CERN document server. For some reason, someone took a press cutting and they put it in here to save it forever.
Okay.
For some reason. Now this is the fact check.
Okay.
Did they do that? No. Online speculations based on distorted interpretation of a 13-year-old quote from a former research director who said, imaginative works inspired by our scientific research should not be confused with actual scientific research. That's a recent, that's 2022.
Okay. So the imaginative works inspired by our research should not be construed with the actual research itself. So the fanciful language that we use does not relate to the actual research. I like the quotes are purely satanic.
Well, this is a fact check.
That's the fact check, right? Yep. That's the stuff. That's what gets shared on Facebook. That's how people argue with each other. Here's a fact check. Nah. Anyway, I like to speak with someone who understands these things like yourself and make a podcast about it. I think that's a much more productive use of my time.
I just want to know what you actually said. Okay, 2009 British.
There's no context. It's just that one line. Out of this door might come something.
Did not state that CERN communicated with entities.
He did not state that he communicated with entities from the other side, people. He just said. Oh, and that's a screenshot of the same thing that we saw on the video. Did he use the word entity? He didn't assign a title. So, okay. So this is debunking other people's ideas of what some people think he said entity. He didn't say entity.
Oh, actually, so this thing that I found over here, this is not the original register. This is the corrections. So yeah, out of this door might come something or something through it. Let's see, blah blah blah. The differences are firstly particles. Okay. Which is some strange phenomena.
Naturally, some extremely strange phenomena are to be expected when one mangles the very fabric of existence. Yeah, mangles the very fabric of space-time itself in this fashion. There we go. Various eccentric nutballs. Dude, this is a hoot.
Yeah, but there's so much stuff here, other than like, what did he actually say? What did he actually?
Right.
We were hoping to see supersymmetry in extra dimensions. Yes, that's like normal.
Yeah, we talked about that before.
Person in matter of Doris or something like this, or a simplified picture.
Lamont rather elliptically said, well, he's a theorist. He's a space shot, so
no math, you know.
Extra dimensional space and entities might interact with our own. Like this, I mean, Indiana Jones is brought up here. This is just fanciful ideas of yeah, right there. Like this is just people's imaginations run wild, right? I mean, and it seems like he's given fuel to them by saying, ooh, yeah, we might find another dimension and something might pass through that. Maybe he just he likes the idea of how dimension can be height or width, but also can mean another realm beyond whatever. And kind of like the dude used the Eightfold Way as like a fancy, spiritual thing. He's kind of relating the same idea, dimensions and other worlds and whatever. Like, I think it's just a hook. He's just trying to get your attention.
Except I didn't come to the bottom of that. I didn't find out that, like, surely they could just ask the guy.
Right, maybe, you'd think that somebody would go and ask him now. Sure. Nowadays, why don't people go back and say, hey, did you mean this thing?
Yeah. It definitely feels like a media fail.
Right, well, or it's on purpose. A lot of the media fail forward, sometimes.
But he did that on purpose to drum up excitement.
Yeah. You never, I mean, money goes where the attention flows, Yeah.
He said, yes, out of this door might come something, or we might send something through it. Now, prophecy in numerous parts of the
prophecy, here we go, right? It's okay.
Refer to a coming day when portals will be opened and spiritual entities are going to pass through and come to the earth. Now, if that's true, and if those verses are accepted for their literal meaning and not written off as some kind of poetic allegory, as some scholars have claimed.
Dude. He's like, it's literal, guys, not poetic allegory, guys. Dude, it's so funny on its face. Like, go ahead.
Yeah, and so now this is in the we're not even talking about CERN in the when biblical literalists say that if it's not literal, it has no value at all.
Right. Right.
No distance between completely literal, and we're talking about a physical thing here, and BS.
Yep. Throw it in the trash bin. If God didn't say it in the book, that's fake. Here we go.
Right. So
go ahead.
Yeah, so on that, we're either so for somebody who is, their parents are religious and they have a long, background of this, they're if they're not seeing past this, they're seeing a choice between, take this literally, and like demons and stuff.
Right.
Or you're turning your back on your ancestors,
right.
Things that your parents and grandparents cared very much about.
Right. And you're turning your back on God itself.
Yeah.
Like, how, and that's satanic and like, I don't want to be one of them and us and them type. Mm-hmm. It's like, yeah. I mean,
right. Cut out the whole middle between literal and anything and valueless. And then it becomes an us and them.
Right. And how can you have any thoughts of your own if you're only allowed to think what's in the book, you know, and you can't interpret it poetically? You damn a-hole, how could you do that? It's literal, you know, like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
really tough. And like, there's so many layers in that book. It's poetic, it's astrological, it's like, it's so many levels. And
Yeah.
I mean, Kabbalism, like, you know, ancient religions, it's all folded into this one book. And like, for somebody to be like, oh, anyway, we'll go on. Now, so now we know how his worldview is framed completely. Like, well, now I understand this guy. Okay.
Then the idea of CERN playing with gateways is a major concern.
If it's literal, it's a major concern.
This is Houston. Say again, please.
And if, as CERN claims, they're only out to explore space-time matter, particles, and the origin of our known universe and planets from exclusively a scientific or Darwinian-related perspective, if their agenda is unrelated to Bible prophecy entirely, then what is it with all this mystical symbolism that they knowingly...
What is it?
Yeah,
please, Jim, what is it?
Yeah, which was what I was kind of trying to get at with the dress, with the like the 40s to the 80s. Yeah, they didn't need to go there.
Right. Right. It really, but you know,
And this is the consequences.
right. Yes.
What we're looking at.
And that's why all of you and your physics buddies are all cringing when you read like the, oh god, you know, I'm sure like if any of them see this video that we're watching, they're probably like gritting their teeth and you know.
Oh,
So
like, you know, we recognize this. This is that stuff that happened.
yeah, it's just out there and like, oh,
Yeah.
those weirdos, right? Right.
Well,
Yeah.
there was an interesting thing when he was saying earlier, when he was talking about, oh, you know, the CERN, they claim that they're only interested in space and time and, you know,
And everything and like
and all that stuff, and true,
right.
true. And then slip the word Darwinian into that.
Oh, right. He says that if you guys that are looking at space and time, if the only people that are looking are Darwinian atheists,
Yeah.
then you're way off track and you're going to lead us into Satan and like, and you yourself go to church. You're not an atheist and you worked for CERN. Like, it doesn't,
People do. Yeah.
I mean, right. And like, you might, like, I mean, I agree with Darwinism in some, like, some of it is true, like the way, you know, the
Mhm.
progression of species, but I mean, who knows where we came from or whatever. Like, but
Right.
still, I don't agree with it all the way. Like, I can take what I see to be true and whatever, but I don't have to subscribe to that wholeheartedly. You know what I mean? It's not like
Yeah.
you're in the Darwin camp and that's atheism and like,
Yeah, that's more what I was getting at.
Right.
In fact, you know, I'm also a Darwinist. Like in
sure. And right, but you
that's
have
biology.
a mind that is like beyond, like you're not put in the box of Darwinist. I'm not allowed to think beyond this idea. Like, you also go to church, you know what I mean? You can explore both possibilities and even find a cohesive path that we're both fit, you know, like
Yeah.
that's
Well,
where I'm at.
where I was getting at actually was that, you know, he's talking a lot of physics words, space, time, matter, that sort of thing.
Mhm.
But you know, one of these things is not like the other. Darwin, you know, is a biologist and here he's representing biological views, which, you know, although not against that, you know, that's, you know, CERN is not exploring
Right.
evolutionary biology.
Right.
But he slipped that in there because Darwin, that's the bad guys,
Right.
you know.
Good. Very good point. Yes. Us and them, they're like the same thing with McCarthy and the communists, like, oh, were you ever, you know, like if you like, yeah, that's so instantly, gotta be wrong completely. Can't take any truth from them, you know? So here we go. And so, yeah, why is it with all the religious? Because they wanted to be poetic and they wanted to make their life's work seem meaningful, you know, like, I mean, nobody like you guys are looking at like subatomic particles really in the scheme of things, like, you're working in computers and like in this thing, like if you're saying we're discovering the building blocks of nature, then that gives you like a urge to do more and keep exploring. It like fuels your work because it gives like it's a meaningful work. And so I like that idea. And so, and like when I'll look at one of my photographs and I'll like think of poetic things and I'll like name it a poetic title, or because I want to incorporate those other ideas into the thoughts while I'm while you're thinking about this piece of art that I created for you. So like trying to have the eightfold way put in there, that's like the moral patterns of proper living, and so like, and it's also the proper patterns of how these particles relate to each other, and like, so like, oh, you could think of each particle as like an individual person and how they relate and the morality between them, and like you could.
Well, then you're getting beyond it.
What's that?
Well, then you're getting beyond it.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's like, but it's nice to have poetic thoughts and to and so like
Jacob's ladder. The guy who invented the two things with the
right.
He could have called it the zappy thing.
Right.
He could have named it,
right.
zappy thing.
Right.
But instead he called it the Jacob's ladder because
exactly.
It's cool.
Yes. Yes. I mean, the high-minded, like to be, to think of angels and that type of those realms, like it's a powerful thing. And these people that are creating these names aren't Darwinians, probably, because they're using all this God language. They think it's poetic because it means something to them. Like they're not actually atheists, but whatever. This guy won't see that because he likes to believe, put them in the box. They're the Darwinists and we are fighting them. Like the Darwinists are the ones that run Planned Parenthood, and they kill babies, and well, like if they can just pile on more, like, oh, eugenics is a thing, and like Satanist psychopaths do kill people, whatever. I mean, we can go there, but I'm just saying that it's not because of Darwin. The eugenicists, the social Darwinists created the Darwin fever to give a reason for racism and structure of society, of hierarchies, without Darwin, like Darwin said that Irish are below Africans on the scale, closer to monkeys on the evolutionary scale, has nothing to do with the color of your skin. Darwin said that in the the second one, like the progression of species, like the second book he did. But that, I mean, he's British, like, and the British hate the Irish. Like, it makes sense.
The British 19th century guy, he just fell a notch in my estimation. But
look at
racist like all the British 19th century.
Right. And his stuff, like you can see it's true that the birds did change relating to their environment over the generations of the selection of the species, and like, yes, that happened. And then they take that, and then the T.H. Huxley and all the others that were around Darwin, they took this theory and they said, oh, well, if that's true, then rich people are only rich because we are better than those people. And then that, that feeds the satanic ego, and the people, the psychopaths on top are like, we love that. Yeah, let's do that. And then that gives them an excuse for killing off the people they don't want. Like the Malthus, it goes into Malthus and that.
And now we're way beyond evolutionary biology, which is
right. Darwin was just looking at birds, like he was, and he like married his cousin and whatever. But so I mean, Darwin, like everybody, everybody's a human. Everybody's on their own path of discovery and learning and understanding themselves. And Darwin did what he could, and I think there's a lot of value in what he really helped. But I think like his bulldog there, Huxley, and the others that were pushing that, they created something totally different. And they, and because of that, now they can say that, oh, China should only have one baby because you know, there's so much population already and the world is going to overrun, you know, like, and that was all Kissinger and the, you know, it's all the same groups that are like the people that ran Kissinger are the same people that ran Planned Parenthood are the same people that paid for Huxley, you know? So anyway, moving on. Sorry, everybody listening. But everybody, my listeners probably already know this stuff, but it's fun to talk about. So anyway, so this religious talk really gets his bloomers in a twist, this guy here on this video.
They are associating themselves with. Wouldn't it be more appropriate for them just to proudly display a polished statue of a particle or some artist depiction of the Big Bang?
Shouldn't they do what I want them to do instead of what they choose to do?
You know, if physics didn't have this if particle physics didn't have this history of using God talk for, you know, shining things up, and if CERN didn't actually have a statue of Shiva, he would find something. He'd find something to talk about.
Right.
It would be less easy for him.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty low-hanging fruit, that quote of like, we're going to send something through a portal of another dimension. Like that quote really,
apparently,
I'm sure that, I mean, that's fuel for the fire right there.
Yeah.
But Bertolucci, like, whatever.
Instead of the statue of Shiva?
Ooh.
For those who have not yet heard about this controversial piece of art.
So he explains what it really is, and I think it's beautiful. It's great how he explains it perfectly.
That CERN proudly exhibits between buildings 39 and 40 near the main building of their operation. It stands as really the most visible and celebrated imagery behind their work, Shiva. This is the Hindu god of destruction.
So for the listeners, that was a picture of an explosion.
The government of India, which...
Because destruction.
Yeah.
Atomic bomb.
Right.
And there could be some like ringing Oppenheimer. I'm going to blame Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer had a lot to do with this religious imagery. I mean, other than the calling the bomb test Trinity.
Right.
He's also the one who was.
I've become deaf.
The Bhagavad Gita.
Right.
You know, brighter than 1,000 suns. I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. Which, you know, is.
And it wasn't really death, right? I am become time.
Well,
which is the destroyer. Time destroys all things. Like.
Yeah, Oppenheimer translated it himself.
Right.
And I was reading this book by a scholar of Sanskrit, and you know, and she said, "Yeah, Oppenheimer would like to think that he
right
Sanskrit."
Right. Don't you think? I mean, think of the power of like, I am become death. Like,
it's pretty.
Some ego right there. Like, whoa, guy. Okay.
Well, okay, and no, actually, you know, and the context in which he said it was after the war, when he had regretted, you know, when he was the video where he was saying this, he was not saying it in an expansive sort of way. He was like he was describing his own guilt, but he's still putting it up on this level, and he's, you know, putting it on in this cosmic level and using a lot of religious imagery, and so like Oppenheimer is one of the physicists who did this God talk a lot.
Right.
Not the
and when other physicists do God talk, it all gets lumped in, right? I mean, this guy, when he's thinking about quantum physics, particle physics, he thinks of the bomb and like destroyer of worlds, like, whoa. And that's like the same quote that Oppenheimer used. So yeah, it's really,
so
it's a shame.
He's using the fuel, you know?
Yeah. And, you know, and it creates more fear and like, oh, now America is such a powerful tyrant and they can own the world with this destructive power. You know, and then Kubrick's got that movie, How I Learned to Love the Bomb, you know, Dr. Strangelove, and the whole zeitgeist of like teaching kids to get under their chair and duck and cover. Like, it's gonna okay, that'll save you. The desk is really gonna help. The blast is gonna burn your eyeballs out of your sockets, but that's okay. You just hide under the desk, you'll be fine. But I mean, so like that whole thing, like Bob Dylan talked about it, like his whole generation was like inundated with this fear, and so like the having the religious,
you know.
right,
yeah,
and or I mean, like our parent, like, you know, but still, the like that religious talk engenders the fear. It creates fear in people, you know, because
in a Lovecraftian kind of way.
Like, and like people like it. Ooh, like I'll get the
Cosmic
next
horror.
yeah. So okay,
has had a long-standing friendship with leaders behind the CERN project even before the completion of the Large Hadron Collider. The gifted CERN with this bronze work of an art depicting Shiva as Nataraja, the lord or sometimes king of the dance. This dance that Shiva performs in the sculpture is the one that provides the source of the creation cycle in Hindu mythology.
The creation cycle. Okay.
Before yugas.
Right. Yeah, we talked about that, and the way that over the aeons of time, how they,
and that is what the statue represents.
Right. He's speaking the truth, and he's saying creation. He just said what it is. It fuels creation, right? And now let's go and listen to what his conclusion.
The preservation of all life in existence.
The creation and preservation of all life in existence. That sounds pretty good. That sounds like a really positive idea, right? Wouldn't you be proud to display that?
And the termination of all life in existence.
Oh, and the termination.
Rudra Tandava is a dance that especially displays Shiva's sadistic personality as he rains down the ultimate destruction upon a weary planet.
Oh, another bomb. More bombs. An image from a satellite of bombs.
Right.
So you know, creation and preservation of all life, and this other dance that's the destruction of all life. And okay, which dance is he doing? I don't know. All right.
Well, Shiva's. Yeah, I mean, the Shiva's kind of like that. I mean, I'm overstepping my bounds by talking about another religion, but Shiva is the
in between the new cycle from the old to the new, like Janus kind of.
Well, that's what this is representing, but Shiva is powerful, and I want to use the word terrible in an old sense, not meaning bad, but in like
powerful.
Yeah, like
in order to preserve all life, it needs to be terrible. You know, like you were saying, like Kali in the other episode was licking blood to lick up the blood that's creating more monsters. It's a way of saving people, you know, by destroying the monsters, right? So like it's actually preservation of all life. Like, so yeah, this guy is coming from his literal Christian biblical perspective, and he's interpreting Shiva through his fear and his ignorance. Like he just said, it preserves all life and the creation of life, and then he says it's the destroyer, and be afraid. And it's like, how can you be afraid of something that preserves all life? You know, okay, it's both, but that's depending on you yourself. Do you need to be destroyed? Like, are you inviting the destruction with your own bad deeds? Like, okay, you know, or if anyway, we don't need to go there, but so okay, moving on.
At the side beside the statue, however, reads in part, hundreds of years ago, Indian artists created visual images of dancing Shivas in a beautiful series of bronzes. In our time, physicists have used the most advanced technology to portray the patterns of the cosmic dance. The metaphor of the cosmic dance thus unifies ancient mythology, religious art, and modern physics. So right there out in the open for all to see is a direct correlation between the Hindu perception of Shiva hundreds of years ago, which is the concept of destroyer,
and preserver
that I explained a moment ago, and our time, unifying, quote, ancient mythology, religious art, and modern physics.
What a beautiful concept. What? That's great.
And
why is he scared of it?
And that actually that correlation is this same kind of thing that I was talking about, like of take of this. I gotta have a word for this. What I'm saying, using religious metaphors and such in describing the fundamental science, because it feels appropriate, because we're getting down to like the basement level of things, but and you could go too far along that way. The plaque is like, they want to say thank you.
Yeah.
You don't want to write in the plaque, oh, and this is religious garbage or something like that. That would really offend the people who just gave you this thing.
I didn't even think of that. Yeah.
No,
good
so
point.
they're so obviously
Wow.
they're first of all appreciative of this, and they're second of all open. CERN is not going to say anything on that's going to offend people's religion. They're not going to go for any, not going to take any kind of religious stance, because that.
And think if they did, like how much he would hate these people if they were like, yeah, religion is actually bullcrap, and he'd be like, wah, and that would ruffle his feathers, and he'd have another thing to talk about.
Also, they're a political scientific organization,
right?
They're not going to get on anybody's side, religious. Now I feel like I'm digging a hole, because it's implying that they think otherwise. I don't.
Well, no, they probably. I bet that what they wrote on the plaque is what they think. Like it ties the ideas of the dance of creation, just like you were saying, the basement level, like Hindus' religion, their basement level is Shiva.
Yeah.
Right? So like Christianity's basement level is, God separated the waters from the darkness or whatever,
the Trinity,
and the Trinity,
not a bomb.
Right, exactly, which is like the Father, Son, and it's like the family unit, which is a beautiful, but then I'm thinking poetically, and I'm not literal. So this is just great. Okay.
Yeah. So the plaque is exactly right. It's like, oh yeah, this is this beautiful metaphor, similar kind of ideas. We're all kind of at a cosmic level. Sure.
And there was that the Zen of physics, or what is it?
Oh yeah,
that was in the 70s. What is it? Wasn't that produced in
the Dancing Woolly Masters, I think, was the first one.
Oh.
There was the Tao of Physics.
Tao, yeah.
Yeah, I have both of those books.
Yeah.
That kind of started like when New Age embraced particle physics, which really,
it's because of the double slit. They were like, oh, consciousness can change reality. Yeah. But you debunked that on the last one. You were like, yeah, but the particles of light, the photons, are hitting, because if you want to see a thing, you need light. And I'm like, oh, duh. Yeah. So
the I'm pointing at my bookshelf. Mm-hmm. The New Age movement latched onto particle physics in like the early 70s, which is kind of late. This stuff had been going on for decades. So the early 70s, New Age latched onto books like the Dancing Woolly Masters, the Tao of Physics. And it was about that time that the physicists started stepping back from the God imagery. right?
Oh, because they were
You know?
like, whoa, New Agers, we don't want to be associated with those guys.
Well, they're taking it too far.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
right.
like if you name, you've got some great idea about how quarks are structured. Quarks are fundamental and important. You call it the eightfold way because hey, that sounds cool. But then if people start really thinking, oh, these quarks really are right living, right mindfulness, right?
Yeah,
That's that metaphor does not go that far. It
right.
is not literal.
Then it makes morality a literal thing that creates the structure of life itself. Like,
Then you start getting like biblical literalist, and it's like,
yeah,
wow, we got to the. I feel like that's
that's the problem with the language. Like, if
yeah.
the physicists did it to themselves, they dug their own, like you were saying, if they dug a hole and they but and how do they back away from that? Like all they can do, like you can talk about it here on my show and like be like, this is not really how we think, and this is the
Yeah.
truth of we're just shooting particles, guys. There's no extra dimensions, and if it is, it's like another one, like width and depth and height. It's not.
Yeah.
I mean, oh man, it's words are important, and the way people wield them to influence the thinking of others is the real magic. That is, mind control is the only problem. Like I always say that shit. And like when people use these kind of words, there's so many connotations that connect to it, and they can wield all these huge ideas and throw them in the pot and then turn it into this thing, this monster of a straw man. Like, yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
moving on.
Something is going on.
You think everything's a conspiracy.
Everything is.
So,
Additionally, and perhaps even more important, there's a significant section of CERN that is built upon the Saint Genus Poëli, which is a commune in Ain, a department of France.
Okay, stop it now. Commune. French cities are called communes.
Oh,
That's the
okay.
French word for community.
right.
That is the French word for community.
And so, like, just because it's built there.
Yeah.
So let's see why it's bad to be built there. What does he say?
In Roman times, the Saint Genus Poëli was called Apolliacum, but the town and a temple were dedicated there in ancient times to Apollyon, the destroyer.
Whoa! If the people that aren't watching, there was just some quick cuts, like MTV editing of Shiva. Like right there, they got a picture of Apollyon, like a statue with eyes glowing orange fire. And then like, so, okay, Apollyon, that's like
Shiva, Horus, if you will. Apollyon is also the angel of the bottomless pit, referred to in Revelation 9:11.
Right, and so this is literal 9/11. So Revelation 9:11, guys.
Well, that's the medieval numbering put on the.
Right. Yeah.
So I didn't know about Apollyon. I just looked it up, and yeah, this is so Saint-Genis-Poly. That is the French city that is closest to CERN. In fact, that's where I always stay when I go there.
Sweet.
Down there, right? It's just a longish walk.
Right.
I never heard anything about there being any temple to Apollyon, but if Apollyon is a Hebrew, or maybe I should say,
it's in Hebrew Abaddon or whatever it says there. But
yeah, but that wouldn't be in the Roman religion if it has
right, because they're the enemies of the Romans. Right.
Well, they're just not there. I mean, Saint-Genis is way the heck in France.
Oh, right.
No, like the bad guys in the Bible, they are the good guys in what's Canaanite religion, right?
Right.
Like, so
the ones who burned the babies at the Tophets. Yeah,
they did. Yes.
Right.
The Canaanite religion, a lot of their gods appear in the Hebrew Bible as devils. As,
Right.
Baal is, for instance, is the head of the pantheon.
Right.
So
Baal just means Lord, though.
yeah.
So like,
This means,
and their Lord was Yahweh. So just
right.
saying, just saying.
There's a reason that the words are pretty similar is because they have the same roots.
Right.
Right. But Saint-Genis in France is so far away from Canaan that I cannot believe that there would be any temple to a Canaanite deity.
Oh, right. Well, Apollyon is the Greek. So I don't know why Hebrew adopted the Greek or whatever, but so Apollyon is like
New Testament was written in Greek, so therefore.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah. So anyway, okay, well, yeah. So this Apollyon is a character where there was a temple to this person, and it was in France, and it just so happens that CERN is built close to that place.
But I don't think that there was a temple.
You're probably right. Yeah, you're probably right. But if there was, that is the only relation to CERN, is because it's built there. And if you think about all of the history of Europe and all the things that have occurred everywhere, like everywhere is something, like something happened there, like which is probably significant to somebody. There's been a lot of history in Europe, and just so happens there was a temple doesn't mean it's bad.
Yeah. When they were digging the LHC, they did find Roman ruins, and they actually had to change the construction plans to avoid destroying a archaeological site.
That's good. Yeah, you can't. I'm sure you can't dig anywhere, like even in France or whatever, like because it's so ancient. Like civilization's been there for all this time. So how could CERN be faulted for building something that was supposedly had a temple thousands of years ago? So CERN would think, oh, I better not build our particle collider there because, Apollyon used to be there. We better not do that because we might be associated with this Apollyon guy.
And then there is a connection between CERN and the Gothard-based tunnel, the GBT.
No, there isn't. And we'll find that out to be true. So if anybody remembers the Gothard tunnel that was dug, it's like kind of close to CERN, which is also, it's kind of near the area. And there is no relation. There has nothing to do with CERN.
Which is the world's deepest and longest tunnel system, consisting of two parallel passages, each moving in a single direction on a single track. The GBT passes directly beneath St. Gothard's Pass, a strategic north-south corridor that connects northern and southern Switzerland. The connection to the Large Hadron Collider has to be made primarily because...
Has to be made primarily because this here.
No, hold on a second. I just looked up where this Gothard tunnel is.
It's not anywhere near it, right?
It's in the middle of Switzerland.
So it has nothing. It's just because it's in Switzerland. Geneva's at the edge, so that it can be near the other country.
The western point, so it's half a country away.
So, but this is he's describing to us the reason we need to connect the two is because of the opening ceremony, which granted is some weird like occult symbolism all kind of jumbled together, but whatever, we'll get into it. But for some reason he relates the two, and we will learn that there is no relation. Here, I'll bring it back a little bit.
North-south corridor that connects northern and southern Switzerland. The connection to the Large Hadron Collider has to be made primarily because of the bizarre opening ceremony that was live streamed to the entire world on June 1, 2016, that included this highly occult, demonic dance with characterization, beginning with a call to unite the religions of the world by conducting an interfaith blessing of the tunnel beside a statue of St. Barbara, the patron saint of miners. Following the...
So like that's some New World Order stuff. Like the New World Order governments, they all want to have this new world religion. They're, the Catholic Church is part of it. They're all on board. They're, it's going to be woke and it's going to be whatever. And so this is just par for the course. Like, of course they got some priests there and they're gonna all religions, we're all united, the world. Like, of course they got many countries working together to make CERN. Like, that's the whole thing, is to have like all these people together. And so the ecumenical bringing together of all religions
That's
into this
ecumenical.
Right.
And he pulls in ecumenical as a bad thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And if we can, like, the idea that where the Christians are coming from is if somebody is uniting all the world's religions, then whoever's on top of that is going to be the Antichrist. And then it's going to bring the end times, and Jesus is going to come and fight the guy, And I mean, it's kind of silly at the face of it, but
it's kind of funny that in this video here, he's got the tunnel was blessed.
yeah, it's good. I mean, I'm sure they got this video from somewhere else, this AJ, whatever. So I don't think that was his production. And somebody else took, he's talking to End Times Productions and then Skywatch TV or whatever. It's some internet thing.
Blessing at the statue of St. Barbara.
And of course you get the, the Germany lady there. So these people, these are the heads of the New World Order, and the New World Order wants a one world religion, of course, like uniting everybody. And so this makes sense to me. Of course they're going to have some douchebag that bless the tunnel and say it's for everybody in all religions. And, then they got their priest class of like, the heads of all the nations.
The press, along with visiting dignitaries, also paid tribute to the 9 miners who had lost their lives during construction of the tunnel.
Now that's kind of an occult thing. Like 9 people lost their life. That's 9 is a satanic thing, and to lose your life, maybe it was on purpose, and maybe that is like they do rituals where they sacrifice, and so sacrificing 9 would be a pretty cult thing. That, perks my ears a little bit, but that's just, I'm recognizing it. Oh yeah, maybe that, but that doesn't mean that it is satanic. It might be a coincidence that 9 people died, whatever. There is no proving that.
Just viewing this from different points of view, viewing it from there, from this guy who's talking, and all this symbolic relevance he's going to find. And then, you can step back a bit and think about what actually happened. They built a tunnel to go under the Alps.
Right.
It's a north-south tunnel because there's a lot of big mountains there.
Right.
And in building that temple, some people died because,
temple. You said temple. In building that tunnel, some people died, right?
This is just like, I was going to mention this earlier. Sometimes the wrong words come out of my mouth. like earlier, I was saying, this was the best thing since sliced milk.
That's the funniest.
I didn't even notice it. It's like, okay. Whoops. So when they were building this tunnel, now actually, if somebody is like really into this stuff, they would point to that where I said temple instead of tunnel.
Right.
See,
he's one of them. Right.
And now nothing I can say would be any good.
Right. Now you're a shill, right? You work for them. Right.
But anyway, when they were building this tunnel, some people are going to die. Some people died because it's a big engineering.
It's dangerous.
And it's dangerous, and things like that can happen.
Right.
You're opening this tunnel. Of course, you're going to recognize the people who died.
Right.
It would be just cold not to.
Right.
Yeah.
Good point. Yeah.
It's going to be going to have like a little moment of silence.
Right.
Then you're going to.
Of course, they're going to have a priest come and say something nice because, it's really a sad thing, and all those families lost their. Yeah. So that I agree, and thanks for. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. Jeez. Yeah, I love that. That's great.
Bodillo's southern portal provided the visiting dignitaries a disturbing parade, really, of miners, erotic dancers.
Erotic dancers.
I don't see anything erotic yet, but
No, they're wearing their orange jumpsuits.
Zombies, fallen angels, all of whom were obeying the call of what they called the shepherd.
Obeying the call. Right.
I have to say that art thing is kind of weird looking.
No, dude, the whole opening was really weird and kind of like it had so many occult ideas jumbled in. It was just like, what the hell? It was almost like the 2012 London Olympics opening ceremony. That shit, I mean, that was some prophetic. But anyway, here, moving on.
Whose yodels invoked the appearance of the event's infernal master of ceremonies, a goat man, portrayed by a young and energetic dancing male.
Okay, so the goat man is like the generative force of nature. Like that's what he's describing, right? And now he's relating the goat man to Baphomet because Baphomet is half man, half goat. But Eliphas Levi took the Pan is the upper half man and the lower half goat.
Yeah.
Right. So Eliphas Levi inverted that. That's why the hands are up and down, because it's like the inversion. So now the upper half is a goat and the lower half is a man. You know, like it's the inversion of the reality.
Okay.
That's what that is describing to us.
Like this backwards mermaid.
Yeah. Yeah, like like it's just swapping so that what's black is white is black, you know, and that's the satanic mirror. They want to mirror the world in the opposite.
Yeah,
and then in that with the solve and the coagula on the arms, you know, what's up is down and what's down, you know, like that kind of thing. So like
you're probably a lot closer to it. It probably does have, you know, these artists probably did have a lot of that in mind.
Exactly.
Although, on the other hand, this is the Alps. There are a lot of goats.
Right. That too. Right.
So this is that, but there are a lot of goats.
Right. But I mean the pagan, you know, the hills people of the ancient times, they loved Pan because Pan brought fertility and life and, you know, all of that. And, you know, but then the dark occultists would do rituals to Pan and, you know, so like, but Pan is the idea of that energy. It's not like some goat guy. But anyway, we'll go on. So he's obscuring Baphomet. Baphomet is the inversion of Pan, and they're telling us Baphomet, right? But no, it's Pan, right? But anyway,
this creature is shown with a Baphomet headdress, a goat demon's head, if you will.
Okay, so yeah, if the goat's head is the head, then yeah, that is Baphomet. I'm sorry. Okay.
And a goat body costume with a hairy pelt.
But really, Pan had a lower half. So, but whatever. Maybe the artists who were doing this dance thing was a satanic person, and they wanted to have some Baphomet in there.
And then it had a.
You know what? You know, he didn't even go there, but those look like scarabs. They look like Egyptian scarabs.
Exactly. Yes. Which that in itself is like the generation and the moving of the, like, okay, anyway.
Formal tuxedo over the top. The imagery was heavily evocative of the German and Bavarian Christmas demon known as Krampus.
So he just, by looking at the Baphomet, in quotes, character, he relates in his own mind, that looks like Krampus. So now he's describing to us that demon is Krampus because he just thought of it.
Yeah, I don't know. They do have some weird Christmas things.
Well, yeah, right.
Sparked Pete and all that.
Right, Black Pete is Krampus, and if you go deep into researching that, that's Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse is Black Pete, and it's like Mac the Knife and that whole thing. It goes pretty deep. That's why he wears the gloves. You can't see the blood, and like, anyway.
Oh, you know what? I heard a totally different thing on the gloves. That was a it's a cartoons, like animated cartoons, came out of the quick draw sketches in
Oh, right.
called vaudeville.
They wanted the contrast of the white with the black.
Yeah,
Right.
in vaudeville, they would wear these strong gloves, and so
Right. So you could see it from far away. You could, like,
yeah,
it's,
yeah. So
yeah,
like
yeah.
early cartoons were very influenced by vaudeville.
Right, right.
Um,
Yeah.
and
And but the where I was getting that from is the Mac the Knife. You know about that song?
I know the song, but I don't know what.
So it comes from Three Penny Opera, which is like, it's a German I think it's German, but when it's sung, Three Penny Opera, like the three penny is like the Saint Nicholas had the 3 bags of gold.
Yeah, that's right.
So
Yeah.
like that, those 3 circles is like the Mickey Mouse logo. Like if you expand one of them to be bigger, then it's that, like. And so like this 3 penny opera relates to that, and when the singer is singing in German, it sounds like Mickey. And she's saying Mackie, but it sounds like Mickey. And like they sing in the song about how he wears the blood, like Mac the Knife keeps his knife hidden, and like he wears gloves, you can't see the blood and no one knows, and he sneaks in like a mouse. And a mouser, like the word mouse means like to get into something, like it gets through a barrier, like it goes pretty deep. And that's whole. So like Mickey is like Black Pete, who takes the children. So like Mickey Mouse is really more related to it than this goat guy that he's talking. But anyway, so let's hear about Krampus. Did you want to say something? I'm sorry.
No.
Okay.
And actually, we got to remember that all this stuff we're doing here, we're talking about the tunnel. We're not
right.
CERN.
Right. Yeah, it has nothing to do with CERN this whole time.
CERN so long ago.
Right.
Now, according to tradition, Krampus accompanies St. Nicholas on his midwinter rounds with the intent to steal boys and girls, putting them into a basket carried on his back. Or he may decide to beat them with branches for being naughty.
What does that have to do with CERN?
Maurice Bruce.
It's just,
but
whoa.
Those Christmas things are really, yeah.
It's deep in there. It gets in there. Yeah. It's part of tradition.
He published a book on pre-Christian Alpine traditions in 1958, and he had this to say about the half-goat, half-demon entity.
Let's learn about what some dude thinks about something that's totally unrelated to a thing that is also unrelated to the actual topic we're talking about. Let's listen in.
There seems to be little doubt as to the true identity for, and no other form is the full regalia of the horn god of the witches, so well preserved. The birch, apart from its phallic significance, may have a connection with the initiation rites of certain witch covens, rites which entailed binding and scourging as a form of mock death. The chains could have been introduced in a Christian attempt to bind the devil, but again, they could be a remnant of pagan initiation rites.
Oh, that's interesting.
That is interesting, but now we've even left the tunnel behind.
Yeah, yeah. And so like people that listen to these things, they get in the like TV, your screen, it puts you in the alpha state, and you're like just absorbing all of the stuff coming in. And sometimes people don't think critically, and it just goes in. And like, oh, this will be fun to watch. Let's hear what this guy says about CERN. Click. And then they're like, oh, okay, I'll think about Stargate. And then, oh, okay, let's think about Krampus. And it's just like, it goes from one to the next, then boom, boom, boom. And he says it has to relate to CERN because of this opening ceremony. And then, oh, yeah, that makes sense. And then he goes on talking about some other stuff that's unrelated, non sequitur. And then that one little thing that he said that's not true, or just that he's leading you down this primrose path, you don't think about that because you're busy like, oh, what did this guy say about Krampus? Oh, it's really interesting. Krampus is pretty evil. CERN is pretty evil.
When you first sent me this video and I watched it, I was like, okay, yeah, I've heard this before. But then when he got to this like opening ceremony, I was watching this thing,
Yeah, it's pretty wacky.
and I was thinking, you know, boy, did CERN public relations go off the deep end here. Not even realizing, because
It's not CERN.
I missed the switch.
Right.
I'm watching
It's
this
so
thing,
quick. They bring you from
I'm
one to the
thinking,
next, and you're like, just okay.
did they really do that? Like
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
I mean, no, I'm thinking,
And you'd think that you would know because you
really
like
do that.
you like pay attention to the science community. You like right. And it is bizarre that people even relate to it just because it's in Switzerland. Like what?
Yeah, just in Switzerland, that's it.
Oh, well, that means Shiva and destroying of worlds. Like, okay, dude. Here we go.
Oh yeah, and there's the same kind of connection, not connection.
Mhm.
And the whole time that he was talking about, Shiva,
Mhm.
showing those pictures of atomic bombs,
Right.
and there's that background cultural connection. Oppenheimer said that thing,
Right.
but
Right.
no, he didn't even say the word atomic bomb.
No.
But he didn't need to.
Right. It's already laced in. That's why, yeah. Right. They create within the mind this fear that they can wield later. They can bring it up later and be like, oh, the fear of this huge atomic weapon. Yeah, it's just like CERN. And now I'm afraid of CERN just like I was of that other thing.
Yeah.
And it's totally unrelated, but they connect the two with this like
it's
fancy,
a network, a mesh of just background associations.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And you can't trust what they say because they're Darwinists.
Many show the goat man in formal dress and a tuxedo-style cutaway formal coat and trousers, but with his usual horned goat face and always with his tongue extended. Now, this tongue out pose seems to be popular with ancient gods, whether they're Mayan, Hindu, Babylonian, Egyptian, Greek, or even British. For some reason, the coat of arms from the
British gods? No. That's the heraldry of the royal family of Britain. They are not gods. I take
long
it.
ago, maybe. No, the cultures have been replaced too many times.
No matter what it was in the past, I take very much offense to him relating the royal family of Britain to gods.
Yeah, you know what? The lion and the unicorn were fighting for the crown.
Right. The child thing. That's the kids' rhyme. That's teaching kids about statism. That's just like telling kids to pledge allegiance to the flag. It's the same kind of putting it in your mind as a kid. Like
the War of the Roses. Each one of them, Lancaster and the other one, the lion represented one, the unicorn represented the other.
Right.
So they're both on this seal here because they're like conciliatory years after the event. But the lion and the unicorn were fighting for the crown. The lion beat the unicorn all around the town.
Right.
One of the two, I can't remember which, was the victor.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what, they're representing that.
Exactly. And that's what the childhood rhymes are, to layer this into their heads long before they understand. So then when they recognize it, they're like, oh, it's always been this way. But if you look, they're fighting over that crown. But if you look at the top of what's on the crown, that's a Maltese cross. That's the Roman Catholic Church. Roman Catholic Church gives them their power.
At that time, Britain was Catholic.
Right. And she still wears, or not she, she's gone now, and the new guy, but it's still that crown. It's still the Maltese cross. And that's the cross of the Templars. That's the same cross that's on St. George, the patron saint of Britain, who is a Templar, which goes into the Freemasonry, which goes into the occult orders, if you look, he's got the red dragon down there under the horse.
Wales?
Yeah, Wallachia. Wales gets its name from Wallachia, and Wallachia is the Vlad the Impaler. That's and King whatever Andrew said he's proud being related to Vlad the Impaler, and it's anyway. These people are not gods; they're scum and villainy.
They are
Anyway,
sticking their tongues out, so I think
yeah,
that's
it's true.
fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's something like somebody.
Prince of Wales supports both a lion and a unicorn with their tongues extended, for instance. More than likely,
And the red dragon of a guy who drank blood. And he's totally missing that. He's just talking about this lion and unicorn. But I mean, he could talk about the red dragon, but whatever.
this tongue position represents sex magic, fornicating with fallen angels.
What?
At this point, I don't know. Sure. Yeah.
The tongue position, sticking your tongue out, represents fornicating with fallen angels. Okay, guy. Okay. Yeah.
Could be the first half.
Yeah.
The ancient symbol of the horned god, referenced by Maureen Bruce in the quote that I made a moment ago, it allows us to...
What's that?
He gets a lot from this. Remember, we're trying to find out who Maureen was at the beginning?
Oh, right.
Yeah, he gets a lot from this guy.
Yeah.
connect our goat demon from the opening ceremony at the GBT to CERN.
Oh, let's see how they connect. Okay, this is interesting.
let's
Here we
see.
go. Here we go.
Despite the fact that the Large Hadron Collider sits 3 to 4 hours down a twisty road
4 hours.
from the location, the horn god
It's twisty though, so it's actually not that long. Come on.
It's half a country away.
Yeah, dude.
I just looked
wow.
it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
God's circular logic and passion for human depravity, Hernunos, as is sometimes called, or Cernunos, or the Green Man of British lore.
Okay.
Okay, so this is true. We did talk about that. Cernunos, spelled Cernunnos, I think. Cernunos. The first 4 letters are CERN. And this place is named CERN. So maybe that's a thing, Whatever, it's just a name. Okay. It doesn't mean they're trying to awaken a horned god from another dimension.
Yeah, if that's all they got, then okay.
Yeah.
Simply had to make an appearance at this occult ceremony. Josh Peck and I and many other researchers have written extensively regarding the in-game plans for tunneling beneath the earth and smashing atoms to smithereens as nothing more than a thinly veiled attempt to open portals.
Obviously.
Yeah.
That guy says a thing, so,
But the opening ceremony...
What's that?
We're so now we're back to talking about CERN, even though there really hasn't been a logical connection made here.
Not at all.
Even if you take the similarity of names, Cernunos, presumably if this is a pre-Christian god,
It's Pan. Cernunos is Pan.
The spelling of a name before English had a was
right. Yeah,
before
English
English
could be any
words?
spelling. Yeah. They could have spelled it with a K, with a KU, who knows?
They didn't have an alphabet before they were Romanized.
Right, good point. Right.
But okay, so that's the connection. And then the thing is that Cernunos made an appearance at this tunnel thing. I think that's what we got. I think that's where the
That's as far as it gets. That's the closest they can relate. Besides the 4 hours of twisty road, this horned god guy shows up at the tunnel. So obviously,
they're both tunnels.
there's yep. Ooh,
You didn't mention that, but they are.
And
both tunnels.
one goes one way, one goes the other way. Are there 2 tunnels at CERN? Are there 2?
There's only one.
There's only one. Oh, damn. I was trying to. There's almost nothing relating.
ceremony
Okay.
at Gothard made it clear that these portals are intended
There's 2 beams, but they go in the same tunnel,
right.
and they're different pipes. But
The different pipe. That's probably. That's a little close, kind of similar. I mean, there's whatever.
something else, and that is to release demonic entities.
Obviously.
The twin tunnels of the Gothard base tunnel commence with twin portals on a single track. These northward and southward journeys symbolize the death, birth, death cycle of the green man, who dies in the fall and winter and rises in the spring, summer. The tunnel ceremony was all about sex rights and rebirth, leading to a new world order that's a complete reversal of the Judeo-Christian design.
Obviously.
Us and them.
Yeah, totally, yeah. But I mean, it's okay.
This included the triple goddess and the horned god, along with human sacrifice and a return to pagan worship, all of which...
So, I don't want to offend anybody there, but Jesus also represents the death and rebirth cycle.
Yep.
Jesus dies and he's reborn, just like the sun, just like that Apollo character,
Just like Persephone going to the underworld.
Exactly. Just like Inanna going into the underworld, just like Ishtar going into it's the same. It's the fertility of nature. It's the seasons. It's the processes of earth described in a mythological fashion. And Jesus happens to be structured upon that same, lattice. It's like, okay, now it's Jesus. Okay. Jesus is also a sun god character, and he also represents death and rebirth, much like the green man. He's even hung on a tree. I mean, but anyway.
Or like Odin is hung on a tree.
Yeah.
Actually, if you want me to go in my geeking into like Canaanite, so I'm religious. I'm a Catholic. I'm Christian, and there and everything. But I see a lot more connections between Canaanite religion and Judaism than you would get from reading the Bible. I mean, you read the Bible and you're hearing a pretty strong rejection of the Canaanite religion, which did involve horrible things like child sacrifice.
Right. And circumcision.
Yeah.
Which is child sacrifice. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay. But there were also there were more symbolic connections because the one grew out of the other. The one came from the other. So, for instance, one of the things that Baal did, in the Canaanite religion, there was a distinction between El, meaning God, and it's the Hebrew word for God, El.
Right.
Actually, like Allah, actually.
Right.
Also Semitic language. And Baal, Lord, that was his son. And Baal,
just like Jesus is the son of the Lord.
Yeah. Baal descended into the dove of death, which was some kind of a monster. He went got swallowed by death, spent 3 days in death, and then death. Right. Seriously, this is in the Canaanite. This is.
And Jesus goes into the underworld. Yeah. He makes a trip into the underworld. That's another literal. It's in his literal Bible.
Yeah. So some Christians would get uncomfortable with that, with the idea that the main story of the Christian religion is found in pre-Christian religions.
Right. Well, what do you expect? They got an Old Testament and a New. Right. But Jesus is like, we can have the old religion in a new way. You don't have to sacrifice your babies, guys. It's cool.
Well, the Jews were already into not sacrificing babies.
Right. They were cutting the tips of their penises off instead. But I mean, you don't have to slaughter cows in this certain way. You don't have to circumcise anymore. You don't have to follow these rules that are related to blood sacrifice. I'll be the blood sacrifice, guys. And I mean, I believe that the Romans created Christianity to traumatize people to be subservient to Rome. The way that I talked about before, how I see things through the view of how it's used by power to mind control others. If I see Christianity as trauma-based mind control for the masses. Look at the dead body. It's hanging and bloody. It's a man just like you, and he disobeyed Rome. And then look at how he was tortured. You got the Stations of the Cross, and you like see it every time you go to church. And then after you're done watching the torture and how wrong we treated him, you participate in ingesting the blood and the flesh. So you are participating in the ancient blood ritual sacrifice of your Lord and Savior, which represents true morality. You're killing it and you're ingesting it. Like, I'm going to talk about cannibalism with an SRA victim, Carrie Olahe, next week. And we're going to talk about cannibalism. We're going to talk about how the domination of others, to dominate something holy, is to eat it, to consume it. And if you too are participating in the death and torture of your own God and your Savior, you too are. Think about that. It's just like voting. I mean, really, like, you are participating in the evil. So you agree with the killing. You agree with the torture of this person. And you too, if you go against Rome, you'll be tortured the same. And these people can't even read the Bible. They just hear this guy saying gibberish at them. All they see is these pictures and this hanging dead body. And they're telling, like, oh, now drink the blood. Like, that is an ancient sacrifice ritual. They used to drain the blood and of the babies in the Canaanite religion. I mean, it's so, like, whatever new way that Jesus was bringing to people with morality and care and love, it's sacrificed and totally dominated by Rome. Give to Rome what is Rome's, like, turn the other cheek, be a pacifist so we can stomp on you and kill you and drink your blood, because we like pacifists better than these Riley Jews, that rowdy and they want to fight us all the time. We've been having these wars. Oh, hey, Jew, you have a prophecy of a savior. Here you go.
Yeah. So there was 400 years before Rome adopted that as a state religion, and it, and it had the main outlines of, yes, I do recognize how the Eucharist is like a cannibalism thing.
Yes.
Of God.
Right. Of your Savior.
Yes, it's really weird. Whoa. And it was also perceived as weird at the time. That was the thing that turned a lot of people away.
Right. And one of the big laws for the Jews is to not drink blood, to not eat blood.
Yeah, exactly. It was just completely counter.
Right.
So that's definitely weird. The Romans didn't
think about that when you go after this conversation.
400 years.
Well, that's true. But it was it was created to, I believe, to divide and break apart the Judaism, and because divide and conquer, right? And like, Jesus was a Jew, guys. This is a new way of being a Jew. Everybody, try this, and then it divides them, and then If you think about it, like I said, from my perspective of how to dominate cultures and minds of people, trauma is like their main weapon. And the more I study about satanic ritual abuse, the more that I study about trauma and the brain in general, and how trauma creates dissociation, and it's like a deer in headlights, and then you get hit by the thing. And if the monster can make you dissociate, then you're his perfect victim. So this is this is how they control us. Like, never forget, never forget. And they kept showing us the plane hitting the building in 9/11, you know, and like, oh, and they get this fear, and like, oh, they're selling parachutes to people that work in high-rise buildings. I mean, it was threat level orange, green, yellow, whatever. Like it was ride the fear train. Here we go, you know, and like.
And the fear sold a couple of disastrous wars.
Exactly. And we all know it was a lie to go into Iraq. How many 18 years we were in Iraq? Like, you know, so like that, like that's where I am speculation. Like I don't like, I'm not just like, well, I mean, I think Jesus is great. The idea of Jesus is great. And I think the way that Rome destroys Jesus and reminds people every week, look at this bloody trauma. Look at this bloody trauma. And it's the same as look at the building explode. And it's the same, like, I could be the one dying. Oh, I'm in this fear, and it stuns them. And then they're given this spell over their heads that they, you know, and they have to repeat the words and they have to follow orders. They stand and sit. It's proving that they are compliant to the master. And if you don't show up in church, we can see who's not there, who's there, like who's on board with our mind control, who's not, you know. It's and then like with the priests, with the confessional, you know, that whole thing, like more mind control. They can target the mind control. They can learn about the people, what they think, and how. It's very intricate. And the confessional down to 7 years old, like, so they can get the kids before they're pubescent. Like, it goes deep. Like, but anyway, so I'm not anti-Christian, obviously, but I understand history and I see how it's wielded. And I understand trauma in the mind, and I understand how predators wield trauma towards victims, and so it's highly suspect.
Yeah,
and
when you put it in those terms, I'm on board.
Right.
It's definitely used for some monstrous stuff at certain times.
Right.
Lie at the center of this nauseating ritual play, which you can probably still watch.
It is nauseating
on YouTube. Dancers dressed as miners.
Actually, I would be curious. I would like to see this. You know,
the whole thing.
It's weird. No. The play. I said it's weird. I didn't think it was bad.
Right. But it's kind of nauseating if you watch it. The more you watch it, it's just like, oh God, it's just. It goes on for a long time too. It's really a intricate thing.
Yeah.
This rock face, and they dug into the earth, so to speak, to unveil what was beneath the earth, a great machine formed from human arms that rotated and churned into various shapes and design, many of which resembled the Large Hadron Collider.
Oh, it resembled the Hadron Collider?
It's round.
Okay, it's round, right. Okay.
Once this opening was achieved, the miners stripped off their orange jumpsuit attire.
That's weird.
It's wacky, dude.
That is, they used staves to perform a dance routine that looked like warfare.
Oh.
It was this forensic dance that aroused a giant.
Oh.
So clearly, the endeavor connected to CERN is far more than Switzerland's braggadocio about an engineering feat. The connection between CERN and ritualistic summoning of a sleeping giant, the horned god of Cernunnos, or even Melkart.
Or even Malkite. Who the F is Malkite? Why is he bringing that guy in? Like, we just had Cernunnos there.
Both are types of the rising, dying god. And
just like Jesus? Wait, what?
Melkart slept for half the year, which may be why Elijah told the priests of Baal to call louder, because he might be sleeping.
Just like Persephone was gone for half the year, just like Tammuz is gone for half the year. It's the same old death and rebirth. Like all of a sudden Tammuz bangs Ishtar, and then flowers happen, and then all of the fertility of the land. Okay.
Of course, I can only speculate, but I note the connection between Nimrod, Apollo, and Abaddon, Apollyon at CERN,
What?
and the history of the region are all highly curious.
It's curious that he's connecting them all. That's what's curious to
So we
me.
still haven't. I still don't think there would be a temple to a Canaanite deity in France.
Right.
It's far away.
Apollo
I mean, France is where you'll find the Cernunnos Green Man stuff, the Druid stuff, where
Yeah,
that
you
was
can
up
see
there.
that.
Right,
You can
right.
see Green Man. Yeah.
Right.
was worshipped by the Romans of that area, as well as the Greeks and in central France. Apollo was equated with the Celtic god Atep Omerus.
Okay,
That's
okay,
Jesus
okay.
right there. That's
Yeah,
a picture of Jesus.
That's Jesus, but now I get it.
Uh.
He's conflating Apollyon and Apollo.
Right, right.
Okay.
And Apollo is the sun god.
Yeah.
So that's Jesus too. And look, there's the sun is right behind Jesus's head. Like
Okay.
that is the sun. Right? Okay.
You know,
Anyway.
where I was going with you for a bit, I very strongly feel that Christianity is sort of a merger of Judaism and Hellenism, the Greek.
Right.
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 And so, yeah, I would expect aspects of Apollo to show up in Jesus in art.
Sure. Right.
Sure.
Because I mean, it's Jesus is doing the same metaphor. He's doing the death and rebirth. Like
Yeah, I didn't know that Apollo did that. Did Apollo die?
Apollo is the sun. Apollo does the sun cycle. So it goes through the zodiac, and then
Yeah, they're better candidates. For
same
stuff.
thing. And like Nimrod's birthday is on December 25th, right? That's why they put Jesus' birthday on December
Saturnalia.
25th. Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that's
These two
so like, the Nimrod was the sun god of the, like that, and Semiramis was his wife, and Semiramis is like the same as Ishtar, and it's the same story, and Nimrod died and then was reborn from Ishtar's baby, so like, and then she went and told everybody, hey, Nimrod's reborn, so I'm magic and I made him again, so worship me. I am Ishtar, the goddess.
characters were combined.
And Semiramis is the queen of the dark occult. Like that's what the Statue of Liberty is, Semiramis. Like and she's pregnant, right? And and she's got the horns, the crown of Attis, which relates to Magna Mater. Attis was made crazy by Magna Mater, who is Cybele, who is Ishtar. It's the same. And Attis like cuts off his genitals and like bleeds, and then they hang because of the violets. They hang the violets. Like the blood creates fertility in the ground, and then violets spring up from where the blood of the castration. And then people in remembrance of Attis will, because it happened beneath a pine tree, they take violets and hang them in a pine tree and bring a pine tree in their house in the winter to celebrate Attis, right? And so it's the same dark occult, like the lineage of Cybele, and like the St. Peter's Basilica was built on Cybele's temple in Rome, and it's the same.
There's a church in Saint-Genis that was built. It's a very old church. It's at least 1,000 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And they've got like little things around it, and I've been to that church,
Yeah,
just for like Sunday services, because they rotate.
Sweet.
And it's I think it was something Roman at the beginning.
Right. Yeah, they're building new temples on top of old
always do
temples.
that,
Yeah,
right. Maybe that's what he's talking about.
So it's as if Rome took the power of Cybele into, just like took over its power. It's like it dominated that spot. It's like it consumed that temple and created St. Peter on top of it. And it's the same blood sacrifice, like it's the same death, rebirth. It's just painted up differently so that the Jews can get on board. And then the Jews are doing our blood ritual, haha. It's like a mockery to the Jews. Like, you don't like drinking blood? Well, how about you drink blood every week? douchebag. You know, we own you. Like, that's what it is. It's anyway. So
I'm gonna switch off. Just a quick.
Okay.
That's the place right here.
Oh,
And it's got a little cemetery. It's very small.
it's a beautiful little place.
But
Under the word of St. Peter, built on the ruins of a Roman villa.
it's a Roman villa. That doesn't mean a temple.
Early Christian, and it was built on thermal baths. Oh, well. So like maybe the thermal baths have more of an ancient thing because that was a sacred idea. Ritual bathing was a thing. It's still a big part of sacrifice now and today.
So you can take it over.
Okay, yeah, more screen. Okay, so getting back to this, we're almost done with this, people.
Okay.
I know it's been like this has been a long one, but this has been a lot of fun for me. I'm glad. Thank you, Jim, for joining me. This is great.
Apollo Atep Omerus, which can be translated as great horseman or possessing a great horse. In the Celtic belief, horses were closely related to the sun. The interesting thing to note is the connection between this idea of Apollo being associated with horses in France, where part of the LHC and CERN resides.
Oh, okay. Horses and the LHC are okay. Okay.
Yeah, the horses pull the sun.
Right, exactly. Yep. So he'll get
What
to
the
that.
book of Revelation states about Abaddon, where it says,
Here we go, Revelation.
and the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle, and on their heads were as it were crowns like gold, and their faces were as the faces of men, and they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon. End quote. I also note that Revelation chapter 9, after describing how these devil worshippers will be judged during the Great Tribulation period, it ends in verse 21 saying, neither repented they of their murders, nor of their sorceries, which is the Greek pharmakia, nor of their fornication, nor of their thefts. Now, pharmakia is the word that describes the ancient occultic effort to use mind-expanding drugs during rituals.
Not just all drugs, okay? All drugs, pharmakia.
In order to open a doorway for...
And that was a lot of that. There was a lot of like, okay, we're going to take these, like the Oracle of Delphi would like breathe a bunch of methane or whatever. Like she would breathe from this ether or whatever, like, but anyway, and she would like, okay, and she's in the spirit world and bringing back information and whatever, making contact. That's some pretty poetic, spiritual, like far out ideas. I mean, I don't know how you can relate the two.
I've heard recently about some brain models for the brain, and it was the entropic model, that you could describe higher order brain states, including like sleeping states, awake states, and hallucinatory states, psychedelic states, as varying levels of entropy. That in the normal state, you are sort of on a borderline between medium between high and low entropy. You can get into states of where you get focused on something, and where you get what's the word when you're obsessed with something.
Right.
It's a state of low entropy because you're not exploring very much of the space. You're
right.
going over the same things over and over again. And then when people are on hallucinatory drugs, they're in higher states of higher entropy.
Right. Taking in more pieces of information and relating them.
Yeah, or just exploring more of the state space. You're getting more random sort of entropy. But when you're working with materials, and you want to temper some steel, or you will carefully move it through the curve of temperatures in order to because the way that you approach the final resting temperature through entropy. Like if you drop it fast by dropping it in, by putting the sword into the water and it hisses, or if you let it cool down slowly, it'll form different crystalline structures. That's materials. Now, this entropic brain theory, it's speculating the same thing about the brain, that the reason that psychedelic therapies can work for people obsessed with things, either they can like obsessed with alcoholism and then they be pulled out of that with psychedelics,
right,
is because it breaks it up, right. It disrupts it, and it doesn't fall back into the same patterns.
Right. Yeah, ibogaine can help people quit heroin cold turkey and like without any withdrawals.
Yeah. I've heard things like this.
Yeah, it's very. I mean, they are tools for our mind has many possibilities, and I just like I'm fascinated by hallucinogens. You know, and what the mind can do with them. You know, I think that, but this.
Yeah, I was going to connect to this, and I didn't because I forgot where it was coming from.
Oh man, I interrupted you. It's probably my fault for interrupting. Sorry.
Everybody. No. I just forgot. I was getting too much into explaining this, but this tied back to something we were talking about a moment ago. Memories.
Yeah, well, he was trying to relate to the people thinking in the hallucinogenic state of going to another dimension.
Yeah.
And then returning with information.
Yeah.
And somehow relating that to CERN.
Okay. Yeah. What I wanted to say about that is that, yeah, if you know that, and so a lot of cultures have these things where people go into, shamans will go into these extreme states in order to come up with some kind of wisdom. If you're not like, like with the metal, if you don't like completely melt it,
right?
If you just increase the entropy a bit and then cool off at the right rate, you can get into new states,
right? And well, the way, I mean, the really in order to expand when you're on that is to have a lot of information ahead of time, to really load your head with information, and then when you're in the state, then it all connects and it's like da, da, da. But if you don't load your head with stuff to think about, you're just going to be staring at your wall like fish fans that are, you're just staring at your wall, this one is for you. And it creates dissociation. It creates like, oh, I'm just going to buy a new hat and pay for more tickets and go do, you got to have critical thought, like, so it really, in order to expand, you got to put the nuts and bolts of the information, like you got to have the grammar in there. And then when you're getting to the logic stage is when you dose. And then when you're done the next day on Sunday or whatever, you can have your rhetoric to explain to others what you thought up with all those disparate parts of information, like, oh, now this makes sense, because you're looking from all these perspectives all at once, it's able to bring in things that you don't even think consciously. Oh, that, artistic things make sense, like,
yeah, right.
Yeah. So
like the Oracle of Delphi, smelling the sulfur or whatever it was,
right,
methane,
ether, I thought, but in any case,
I don't remember.
Yeah, but it was probably damaging her brain all the time, but it's like huffing gas or whatever. But still, like, she was put into an ecstatic state, and others that don't know, they are occult from what she's doing in her mind. So they assume what she's doing and they think it's spiritual and magical, and they give her this power. And that's kind of the same thing. Like these people, like this guy here, he's occulted from the information that CERN is doing, because he's not even looking. He's busy like looking at this fancy stuff of like, oh, Black Pete and Krampus and whatever. He's like not really looking at the truth of what CERN does.
I see very little circles in his
Yeah.
pattern.
And referencing the same person over and over again, like, you know.
Yeah.
So he is like, he works from an occulted perspective. Like, being a literalist Christian keeps you stuck in the box and you can't look past it. And he's describing fear of the unknown. And he's like, oh, be afraid with me because we are us. And that is them over there. You know, it's really interesting, like, what's happening.
Yeah, right.
With unseen supernatural entities. So, given these descriptions, is it possible that CERN will have something to do with the opening of the bottomless pit described in Revelation 9?
Is it possible? That's right.
Yeah,
That's
just
some
like
ancient
the ancient
aliens.
aliens. We're not going to say it, because if we say it as a declarative sentence,
Then you get sued.
then then it would be something that
Lawyers can get a hold of and bring you to court.
I'm going to evaluate this on its merits. Instead, if you say, ask it as a question, somebody listening to that puts it together and they feel like they came up with the idea.
Oh, yeah.
And
I discovered this ancient magic information. Like, yeah.
One always loves more one's own ideas.
Right. Because it feeds the ego and it's more circular. Like,
That's the end.
Well,
end with Shiva.
That's it. Could it be? That was the last statement.
Could it be?
It starts with, you guys know Stargate? You seen that movie Stargate? Well, you're spot on. And then at the end he says, could it be that CERN is opening portals to another dimension? And then the title of the thing is, what the CERN Collider the true reason for it being, I forget what the fuck.
It's like
what the CERN Collider's true purpose is.
That's the clickbait. That's the
yeah.
I've heard about this. I don't know why they're doing this. Like if I'm I don't know, like if I'm average person, don't know about particle physics, don't know, like I just heard they're putting an awful lot of money into this thing. They're talking about it a lot. It is coming up on the news a lot. Oh, why is CERN doing this? Okay, I would like to know why. This my curiosity. 15 minutes later, they've seen like
Krampus. Some goat dude dancing with like workers in the tunnel. Like, yeah. Whoa. And like if you don't know, so you are also in the blackness of the occult. Like you have been, your eyes are still shut and you're like trying to find your way out. Oh, I need some information. What is CERN? And then there's all this, they could go to the CERN website and like find out for themselves, but they're passive and they're on Facebook and their friends say, ooh, on Twitter, like we showed in the beginning.
Emojis under it.
Yeah. Emoji. It's not even words anymore. It's just like pictures. It's regressing so far. It's like 1984. We removed this many words today from the dictionary, yay. Because it's a way of controlling, but anyway, so that people are on Twitter and they're like going about their day, having a cigarette on their break or whatever. They're scrolling through and, oh yeah, what is CERN about? And their friend shared this thing that says 666, it's evil, guys. And then like click, and then you're watching passively. Oh, and you think you're getting information. Oh, my friend thinks this is legit. Oh, well, that must mean it's kind of legit. I like my friend, he's smart or whatever. And let's see what it's all about. Click. And then it gives you this thing that okay. And then it creates this emotion in you like, oh, I'm afraid. Yeah. I'm going to share it too. And then like it just spreads and
the viral thing.
Yeah.
And and as I'm going to call myself an expert on CERN.
Yeah, right.
As an expert watching this video, I didn't see the switcheroo to talking about the tunnel. I missed that.
Right.
And I was
like, the first time you saw it, right? You just missed it, right?
It's like, what the heck? Some dance?
Right. Was that really CERN? Right. And
Yeah.
then but
And
then it's easy for you to like, you understand, like you can go to the CERN, like you can look it up and find the truth. Be like, huh? That's not true. Really? What? And then, oh, it's the Gothenburg tunnel. Bull crap. And like, oh, and so like his switcheroo, he like sets it up. CERN, CERN, CERN. Oh, it's just like Gothenburg tunnel. It's Gothenburg tunnel. Oh, it's
probably
just like
more
Black
time.
Pete. Oh, Black Pete. Like what? They're all the same.
Probably more time in the little bar on the bottom was spent on that tunnel.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
even if it had been, like in my original thinking that it was about something that happened at CERN, even if they did weird dances at CERN, then they're doing weird dances at CERN.
Right. Bunch of goofballs, right?
Yeah.
Whatever. It
They
doesn't
do have
mean
they do have an artist in residence who comes up with stuff. Yeah.
right. I mean, it's great PR, have some dancers out there, then they can invite the leader of Germany to come over, and they it's a way to like, let's have a celebration of this thing. Like, so even if they did have a big dance, that does not relate to the actual science.
Yeah.
Even if they do have a picture of Shiva outside, that doesn't mean they are destroying worlds. Like this Sergio Bertolucci, he said something that's weird.
They,
Pretty weird. And he, might be the director of mathematics. Like he was in charge of a bunch of mathematicians. Right?
he was in charge of computing.
Computing, right? It's even, there is no theoretics in computing. Computing is like, we solve this problem, we make this, like it's not like theories.
What they said about him being a theorist, he was probably when he was when he did physics and was trained in physics, he was probably in physics theory.
Right.
That's what I interpreted from
Right.
When they said he's a theorist.
Right. But they also said he's a boffin. So,
well, the register did. Yeah.
The register, right. But I mean, so yeah. So
he is
there's
and I'm a
your head looks pretty normal shaped. It's kind of round at the top, not very egg shaped.
Actually, I'm certain I can do it.
Yeah, mine's pretty eggish too, right? Yeah. But it's all good. Crazy bald heads here, but we understand about Babylon and we know what they're getting at. But don't get scared at the God language, everybody. It's just some fancy language. If you actually want to know about a dimension, then look it up and they'll be like, oh, it's another dimension like height and width. It's not a place where demons reside that are going to break through, come and get you and destroy the planet. It's just silly. I mean,
yeah.
So I'm glad that you took this little adventure with me on this podcast. It's been great. It's been quite a bit of time. I know we kept you from the evening, and thank you so much for joining us. Would you like to say anything? Is there anything that we missed?
No, we went everywhere.
Yeah, we did. Thank you so much, Jim. This has been great. It's really wonderful for me to talk with you and to have this, like when we were kids, we used to have the big whiteboard at Dad's house, and you'd like explain to me about how, like, I remember one where you're talking about translating light waves into sound, and like people were like, oh, this is what the sun sounds like, and like you were trying to like explain it to me, and I'd be like, you're like 5 years older than me, and it was great to listen and learn, and I always valued you for that, and I'm so glad that you could share with my listeners. You're gifted in that way, and I'm very glad that you could join us here. Thank you so much. Awesome. And so if anybody wants to hear about or look at some of the things that Jim has talked about, you can visit coffeeshopphysics.com, which is still running. And if you're interested in learning, this is the first episode that you listen to with Jim, go back and listen to the prior episodes on Wake the Dead. And I look forward to you speaking to you again in the future. And thank you so much, Jim. Awesome. Sweet. Thank you all again, and we'll catch you next time on Wake the Dead.